You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Deku Enters Rosario Vampire? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of bubbajack on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. When Izuku returned to the group with 2 new girls in tow, Kirishima's jaw dropped. Dude, I thought you had to take a PSS. How'd you manage to pick up 2 supermodels on your way to the can? Mina shot her friend from school a look. Probably by having tact for one edgy. Mina greeted the 2 with a smile. Sup, I'm Mina Ashido. Who are you 2? Kaluha smiled. Kaluha Shuzen, she motioned for her sister to introduce herself. Kokoa Shuzen, the redhead introduced. When Maya and Poppy hear their names they froze up, and stood stock still like they were prey in the face of predators. Kaluha just turned and smiled at them sweetly, while Kokoa just sent the 2 a smirk. Izuku looked between the 4 girls wondering what was going on. Mina didn't notice the odd tension in the air though, instead asking, so how'd you bump into Midori? Kokoa quirked an eyebrow at Mina's affectionate nickname but replied. Nechan fell down outside the bathroom. Izuku-san was nice enough to help her up and invited us to join you. I hope that's alright. Oh yes, Kaluha said clasping her hands together, I do hope we won't be intruding. Mina shook her head, nah, more the merrier right? Mina nudged Izuku in the shoulder playfully. And you thought you were socially awkward but then you go inviting 2 girls to hang out? Nice going stud. Mina, Izuku made sure this communication reached her and her alone by focusing intently on her face. These 2 have been following us since we left your house. They are bodyguards for me sent by Rika-san. Mina blinked as her only response, really? Izuku nodded, I sensed they'd been following us since the park and confronted them near the bathrooms. Mina crossed her arms and scowled at Izuku a bit, you could have told me you know. And put you in potential danger. I don't think so, Izuku swiftly rebutted. Kirishima and the others were looking confused by the one-sided conversation Mina seemed to be having. With the red-haired boy asking, are we missing something? Private conversation edgy, Mina replied shortly before focusing back on Izuku. So how much bullshit did we just get fed? Not much, she really did fall on her face and I did offer her a hand up, and asked them to hang out. I figured it'd be easier for them to watch me this way. You're not wrong, Mina agreed with a sigh. Okay then. Mina turned to the 2 Shuzen girls. So, what do you 2 like to do for fun? The 2 looked at each other then back to Mina. Kokoa was the first to speak up. I like going to the batting cages, and Nei-san likes karaoke. Batting cages and karaoke huh, okay cool, she turned to the boy she planned all this for. What about you Midori? I am fine with anything really. The dead boy replied hastily. Come on you gotta have some kind of hobby besides writing down notes about quirks that is, not that it isn't cool of course, Izuku sighed and mumbled something. I didn't catch that. Mina replied. I said, I like music, Izuku replied. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Izuku shook his head, you don't know the kind of music I'm into Mina it's weird. Hearing that caused Mina's eyes to gleam in interest, oh. Tell me more. In response, Izuku took out his phone and began typing in something when he got the results he was looking for he spoke in a surprised tone. There's a place not too far away from here that has my kind of music. We can go look if you're all okay with that. Today is your day dude. Lead the way. Mina cheered. When she saw Togata making his way over, she called, "Miri-senpai. Midori has some music shop he wants to visit. Hurry up." The now larger group found themselves outside of a music shop called the Brown Note. They all chuckled at the name before heading inside. Various music-related things from clothing, to CDs, to posters hung on the walls, vinyl took up a whole section and everything was categorized by genre. The satyr who was manning the counter gave them a jaunty wave, and welcomed them to his shop, saying if they needed help finding anything to just ask. Izuku silently nodded as he walked through the rows of musical CDs, finally stopping in the heavy metal section. "Heavy metal, you?" "No way," Mina said, a grin on her face. "Way, you get told all your life you'll never amount to anything because you don't have a quirk, and you'd be pretty pissed off too," Izuku rebutted before picking up a Led Zeppelin CD. He felt Mina's hand land on his shoulder in reassurance. "Midori. It's fine, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lash out," the boy apologized without looking back. He felt Mina hug him from behind, her arms wrapped around his neck, her hair tickled his neck when she shook her head back and forth. "You don't need to apologize. I can't say I get it, because I've never been quirkless, but I can tell you're still angry and you have every right to be. You weren't treated right, Midori, and you were treated that way because of something completely out of your control. It wasn't right, and it wasn't fair. Just remember, the people who did it are being punished for it, okay? I know it won't magically erase the last 10 years or so, but I hope it helps." "It's a cold comfort if I'm being honest," Izuku replied after a moment of silence, his hand reaching up to gently clasp hers, albeit awkwardly due to her position. "It means something, I suppose, seeing justice done after so long, but too little too late. The barn door is being shut long after the horses have left the stable." Mina frowned with her head pressed into Izuku's back. She was afraid that was the case with him. He was thinking about the repercussions of the arrests because he didn't care about the arrests themselves. For Midori, the time for justice had long since passed. "Can I do anything to help ease your pain, Izuku?" Izuku chuckled. "You're already doing it, Mina," he patted her hand. "By being the first real friend I've ever had." Hearing that made Mina smile, yet at the same time her gut seemed to recoil at the word friend. "Did I not eat enough breakfast or something?" the alien-esque girl asked herself. "Anyway," Izuku said, seguing into a different topic as awkwardly as he could. "What type of music do you like, Mina?" "Oh, me. I'm into anything that has a beat I can breakdance to, Midori," Mina admitted to her friend. Izuku turned around. "You can breakdance?" "Totally, I could even teach you sometime if you like," Mina offered nervously. Izuku smiled serenely. "I'd like that." "Oh dude, they got baby metal here, score!" Kirishima cried out. When Izuku heard that, he quirked an eyebrow. "Baby metal? You've never heard of the super famous idol group from before quirks were a thing?" Mina asked. "No, and with a name like that, I think I'm glad I haven't," Izuku said mainly to himself, but Mina punching his arm told him she heard him anyway. "Don't let Kirishima hear you say that he's a rabid fanboy. He's even a fan of the new quirk band based off of them called Rattlescrews or something." "Did someone say Rattlescrews?" Kirishima cried out in a pitched, girlish tone. "Oh gods no," Mina said, putting her fingers in her ears to block out the pitched squeal as best she could. Kirishima was on them like a fly on a week-old corpse. Where is it?" "Mina was just telling me they were your favorite band, Kirishima-san. We didn't actually find anything of theirs, sorry," Izuku hastily replied. "Oh," Kirishima looked downtrodden, but only for a moment. "Ah well, that's fine," he turned to leave, but not before clapping Izuku on the shoulder. "Midoriya, hang in there buddy, you're not alone anymore, K." With that the redhead walked away, leaving the archlich confused. What was that about? Why would Kirishima-san fuck? Mina for the second time in 2 days endured psychic screaming in her brain courtesy of Izuku. What's wrong, Midori? When we talked just a bit ago, I think I broadcasted it throughout the entire store. OOCRP. Mina peeked out from behind the shelves they were hidden behind to see everyone staring in their direction worriedly, only to quickly go to looking at the merchandise when they caught her staring. How bad is it? Izuku asked worriedly when she turned to face him again. They know, Mina replied, seeing no point in sugarcoating it. They know. Izuku hit his knees and gripped his head. Oh, just great, I finally had a chance to make normal friends and I totally blew it. Now, she said, leaning down on her feet so as to pat him on the back. I can't speak for the Shuens sisters, but the others will understand if you just talk to them about it. I know, and I haven't abandoned you. Izuku looked up from his almost fetal position. You think so? Mina gave him an encouraging smile. I do, but if worse comes to worse and they for some weird reason don't, know that no matter what, you've still got me. Okay. Izuku nodded again and finally stood up. Oh, okay, Mina. Thanks F for PP putting up with me so much today. Putting up with you? Mina said, cocking her head to the side. Dude, I love hanging out with you. You beat my record in skee-ball, then creamed me in Heroic Justice 3, usually I can't get anyone to play me in those games cause I'm just that good at them, then you super casually kick my butt at both. Today has been nothing short of awesome. WL, I'm glad you had fun. What about you, Midori? Have you had fun today? Mina suddenly asked. After all, today was about helping him unwind after everything that had happened to him. If he hadn't had fun, then everything they'd done today was a moot point in Mina's mind. I did, Izuku confirmed, much to her relief. It's been fun having friends and being a normal kid again. I can't even recall the last time I felt like this. Mina grit her teeth. She wanted so badly to introduce the students and faculty at Midori's old school to her quirk. For a good long while too, while she was at it. Think happy thoughts, Mina, happy thoughts. Kittens, cotton candy, festivals, the people who picked on Midori melting and screaming in agony. Happy thoughts. Good. Wanna go get some ice cream next? Mina asked, nodding towards the checkout counter, an album by Queen in her hands. Sure, we should check and see if everyone else is ready to go first though, Izuku replied. Upon saying that, a rapid scrambling could be heard moments before the two poked their heads out from behind the shelves to see everyone else standing at the counter waiting on them. Yo, we were about to come check on you too. Kirishima called. What were you doing back there, making out or something? Mina flushed violet. Shut up, edgy. Kokoa kicked Kirishima in the shin for good measure, causing him to hop on one foot. Ouch. That hurt, damn it. Just how strong are you? Humph, stronger than you, Kokoa replied simply. Making his way to the counter with his purchases in hand, Izuku realized once again, he had no money. Oh, I don't have any cash. I got you, Midoriya, Mirio told him easily, handing over a couple $1,000 for the CDs Midoriya wanted to buy. Besides, half of all proceeds go to the winner, if you recall. Oh, right. Thank you, Togata-san. Izuku said, bowing gratefully. Mirio just waved him off. Don't worry about it. Izuku approached the counter and placed his items on it, waiting for the cashier to ring him up. The satyr looked at Izuku in awe for a moment and then said, Why, your money's no good here, your holiness. Are you sure, Zeet-san? Izuku asked, doing his best to pronounce the man's name properly from his name tag. Yes, your holiness, sir. Please feel free to take it, as a gift, Zeet implored him. In fact, are all these people with you? Izuku nodded slowly, yes. Then please, all of you, by all means please accept them as gifts, the satyr implored them. We see can't do Midoriya tried to protest only to be cut off. Thank you very much, sir, Mina butted in, a giant sugary grin on her face. She grabbed Izuku by the arm and hauled him out of the store before he could protest. Izuku looked for a way to break the ice. So, what did everyone get at the store? The best of Beethoven, Kahlua offered first. Mina quirked an eyebrow. So, all of it then? Yes, the vampiress replied. I picked up some jazz by Charles Mingus. Cocoa replied nervously. Sweet, Izuku replied. Mina give the undead boy a sideways look. I thought you were into heavy metal. The only way one can understand jazz and blues is by understanding sadness. I understand sadness, Mina-chan, Izuku said seriously. And anger too. Midori, Mina thought to herself, how much of that sadness and anger have you buried deep down? And how can I help you let it out? What about you, Kirishima-san? Izuku asked. Got me some baby metal, dude. I'm good, Kirishima replied. What about you, Togata-senpai? The blonde looked in his bag. I got the latest album from 3 Steps from Hell. 'Cause, you know what every hero really needs? When everyone shook their heads, Mirio replied, theme music. Nice. Kirishima replied, what about a theme song? Mirio shook his head as he replied, nah, that could get stale after a while. You put a playlist on though, hit go and jump into action. Sheer awesomeness awaits. After all, how can you not save people when you're pumped? Poppy got nature sounds. Poppy likes nature sounds, the bird girl replied simply. Soothing. Nothing wrong with that, Izuku told her. As for me, I got this. Maya revealed a CD entitled Scandroid. That looks like a synthwave band, Mina noted. I didn't know you were even into that genre. I'm not, I just bought it 'cause the cover looked cool, Maya admitted, causing everyone to laugh. Izuku hoped for a moment, however brief, that everyone would just forget about what they heard in the brown note. Yet as they all stopped at a vendor for ice cream cones, and crowded around a small table, Kirishima said, so Midoriya, what was all that about back in the shop between you and Mina? All the girls and Mirio sighed, with Mirio slapping Kirishima upside the head. Kirishima, don't go bringing that up. What, why? I can't be the only one it's bugging, right? The redhead asked. Midori, you don't have to tell them anything, Mina said hurriedly when she heard her friend sigh next to her. It's fine, Mina, I think it would be best if I just got it out there. They just keep wondering otherwise. He's not wrong, Kirishima said, only to receive another smack upside the head from Mirio. Feel free to start whenever you're ready, Izuku-san, Mirio told him. Izuku counted down from 10 to calm his nerves. Then he looked everyone in the eye before he spoke. He didn't know for sure if this would keep the conversation self-contained to just them, but it worked with Mina earlier, so it was worth a shot. I only became an archlich recently. Just a couple of days ago, in fact. Several days ago there was a slime villain on the news, right? Everyone nodded, with Kirishima saying, yeah, it captured a kid with an explosion quirk before All Might got there and saved the day like he always does. Izuku let out a cold mirthless laugh at that. It echoed in everyone's heads like the keening of a death bell. Yes, All Might always saves everyone except when he doesn't. Mirio was frowning now. He, who had been chosen to inherit the secret quirk one for all which now flowed in his veins, the legacy of the number one hero, All Might. What do you have against All Might, Midoriya-san? Izuku raised a hand to forestall any more questions. I'm getting there, Mirio-san. First I should start at the beginning. I was born quirkless. Several people blinked in surprise and Kirishima winced. Yes, as I'm sure you could imagine, I was treated as a second-class citizen at best and something gross someone stepped in at worst. I was constantly bullied by my fellow classmates, which were led by my former best friend Bakugou Katsuki. Yet despite years of this, I still wanted to be a hero. Izuku had to pause and count down from 10 again, subconsciously grabbing Mina's hand as he did so. She gave his hand a reassuring and comforting squeeze. You don't need to continue, Midori, she told him, I can take it from here if you like. Yet Izuku shook his head, just holding her hand had given him the strength he needed to continue. No, it's alright, Mina. I've started, I need to finish. Maybe the more I talk about it, the easier it'll be. Izuku reasoned, anyway I grew up being treated badly by pretty much everyone but my mom and Bakugou's mom and dad, who were my unofficial aunt and uncle. Bakugou behaved himself around them, mostly. I was walking home 3 or 4 days ago now when I was attacked by the same slime villain while walking through a tunnel only to be saved by All Might. Everyone was giving Izuku confused looks now except for Mina. She knew this tale by now. So he gives me his autograph but I cling to his leg as he jumps off because I had a very important question to ask him. Eventually he stops on a roof and Izuku paused wondering if he should reveal the secret of All Might's condition. In the end, he decided against it. Despite how jaded he felt towards the number one hero, he wouldn't reveal such sensitive information. We had a quick conversation. I asked him if a boy with no quirk could become a hero. Mina pulled him into a hug. She knew this was the hardest part for him and whispered into his ear, "It's okay Midori, it's in the past. Memories can't hurt you anymore." She reassured him. I wish that were true. That was likely meant to be a private thought but everyone heard it anyway. He told me no, someone like me couldn't be a hero. That I'd be better off being a police officer instead. I like many people idolized All Might. You really should see my room back home, it's like a shrine to that man. So to hear him of all people tell me I couldn't become a hero, well, I decided to take some advice Bakugou had given me earlier that day. Cocoa, who was gripping the metal table so hard the metal bent like tinfoil, asked, which was. He said that if I wanted a quirk so badly, maybe I should jump off the school roof and maybe I'd luck out and get one in the next life. Izuku shrugged, turns out, he was kinda right. The area was suddenly filled with a miasma of power as Cocoa, Kaluha, Poppy, and even Maya released the same purple-pink power that Izuku had seen around Rikusan last night, only even the 4 of them combined was nothing compared to Rikusan. All of them together was maybe a fourth of what Izuku had felt rolling off that man. Just because Izuku was unaffected didn't mean other people weren't, however. Kirishima had thrown himself backwards away from the girls, Mirio got up and took several steps back and Mina cuddled closer to Izuku for comfort. Also, people nearby were fainting in sheer terror. That son of a b. Cocoa ground out, I'll string him up by his entrails. You can have what's left after I'm done carving him to bits, little sister, Kaluha replied, tears falling from her eyes as her arms began to transform into bladed bat-like wings and her cross earrings started to shine. How about this, I squeeze him to the point his ribs break, Poppy gets to peck out his eyes, Kaluha-san chops off his arms and legs, then Cocoa-san hangs him by his entrails. Maya suggested. Yeah, I like this plan, the harpy agreed as she raked her talons across the ground gouging trenches in the cement sidewalk. Agreed, Cocoa said, a malicious smile on her face. Kaluha nodded, even as tears rolled down her cheeks, I don't like violence but I'll make an exception in this case. Yahoo, hey, hey hey. A voice called out, startling the group. Excessive release of yoki is a misdemeanor punishable by a hefty fine, you know. The group looked over to see a girl in a yellow leather bodysuit complete with domino mask which only framed and accentuated her deep purple eyes. She strode up to the group, her fingers ended in long talons, she had bat wings on her back and long whip-like tail that ended in a spade. Her bright blue hair fell around her face, which was very pretty, mask or no. Ah, you're Midnight's partner Allure. Midoriya noted. The girl winked at him in response, yep, and you must be Midoriya Izuku-sama. She bowed, causing her melons to jiggle a little in her skin-tight suit, it is a pleasure to meet you, your holiness. Just Izuku is fine please, the boy requested as he thought, who doesn't know who I am? I'm going to be an internet sensation by the end of the day at this rate. Then feel free to call me Kurumu, yeah. Kurono, what are you doing here? Cocoa asked, narrowing her eyes at her former senpai in the newspaper club. Beside this area being on our patrol route and you girls letting out enough yoki to knock out 2 city blocks, you mean? Kurumu shot back, we were asked by Rika-san to keep an eye on Midoriya-san should we run across him. And it's Allure when I'm in costume, please. Seriously, how many bodyguards does Izuku have on him at the moment? Kirishima asked. Besides Midnight, myself and the Shuens sisters, you mean? Kurumu asked. Yes, like how many of you are there? Izuku asked, getting weirded out at all the secret protection his was getting. Kurumu began awkwardly. 2 kilometers away, Minako lay prone on a building watching Izuku and his friends, her rifle at the ready. No hostiles detected. Over. Tayashina, who was doing her best to hide in a bush and munching on a bag of chips, replied, I don't see anything either. The ice cream they're eating looks good though. Over. Doppel, who had changed her form to a different humanoid every time a crowd passed her by so as not to arouse suspicion, retorted. You're eating chips during a stakeout, how can you be hungry? Also, the kid is fine. Over. Zombina was sitting on a park bench pretending to birdwatch with a pair of binoculars as she replied irritatedly. If only he were a few years older, DMN of all the rotten luck. Over. Lulikan. The other 3 members of MON shouted at the same time, over. There aren't too many more, Kurumu finished. Allure, Midnight came up wearing her borderline indecent hero costume before giving Izuku a once-over before giving him a motherly smile. This him? Seeing her partner nod, Midnight smiled at Izuku. It's a pleasure to meet you, Izuku-san. You don't mind too terribly if I use your first name, do you? And not at all, Midnight-san. Izuku stammer out. I just wish I had some way to get your Ana Allure's autograph. But I don't have a pen or anything to write on. The 2 heroines shared a look. He's so cute, they thought at the same time before nodding, with Midnight saying, for the 2 of them, I think we can work something out. They leaned in and kissed either side of his face, leaving lipstick marks on his cheeks. Kirishima, who was watching the scene open-mouthed, thought, lucky BSTRD. Mirio just grinned. Thinking Izuku deserved this after what he'd just heard. Thank you. Izuku stuttered out, barely able to form a coherent sentence. You let us know if the ink wears off and we'll come and reapply it, okay, Izuku-sama? Kurumu said with a wink. Mina pulled him close to her, glaring at the heroine pair possessively, while the other girls with Izuku also gave them the stink eye. Midnight just laughed a bit before getting serious. I wouldn't go glaring at us if I were you, we could fine you for excessive yoki release, you know. What even caused that anyway? Izuku-sama had just informed us how he became an archlich. We were most displeased, Kahlua with a frown marring her otherwise perfect face. Midnight's eyes widened a fraction in surprise. She calmed herself and nodded. Yes, I see. Allure had a similar reaction when she read the report. I had to use my quirk to calm her down. Kurumu frowned. That sucked. I'd still like 5 minutes alone with this bakugou kid. She looked down at her talons. I'll treat him like a cat does a scratching post. That isn't heroic behavior, Midnight chastised, before adding. Even if he does deserve it. Izuku, who had now calmed down, asked, I'm not to be rude, but why are you both here to protect me? What are you going to protect me from exactly? Rioters. Midnight said shortly. Word of All Might's arrest has already spread, and once it gets out that you're the reason was you, Izuku-san, well, people who really looked up to him aren't going to be happy with you. They will come after you, and possibly try to hurt you for what they see as besmirching All Might's good name and reputation. That's why we're here to keep you safe, Izuku-san. Midnight questioned when she saw him double over on himself, clutching his head. People want to hurt me for hurting myself? Why? I don't understand. I just don't get any of this. Before I died, I was nobody, I was trash, and now only after I die, am I considered important enough for people to care about? I'm some martyr saint. I don't understand, I don't get it at all. Mina knew DMN well. Those were supposed to be internal thoughts, but she didn't give a SHT at the moment. Izuku was rocking back and forth while holding his head in his hands. He was all but in the fetal position. She knew enough from her mother to know when someone was shutting down, for lack of a better term. Dying, coming back, then finding out he had all this responsibility as an archlich and a trial to look forward to on top of people wanting to possibly hurt him. Mina shook her head. It's a wonder he didn't do this sooner. Stupid Mina. We should have just stayed home. The horned girl chastised herself. Midori, look at me, listen to me DMN. Mina shook him to no avail. Midori. Then, of all things, Mina heard a song starts to play in her head. It took her a minute to place it, but she finally did. It was Help by Papa Roach. Izuku was broadcasting the song, thinking it to himself. Oh Midori. Mina said to herself before she hugged him. We're not friends because you're someone important. We're friends because you're you. The song slowly petered out, and to Mina that was a good sign. It showed her he was at least listening. Taking this as her cue, Kahlua picked up where Mina left off. We apologize if we have overwhelmed you with our reverence Izuku-san. The vampiress got up and bowed low, going for a goza position only to tumble because of her heels and end up flashing her white panties at the poor boy and showing she wasn't wearing something else very important. Damn it, Nei-chan. Kokoa groaned, running a hand down her face before giving her elder BLD sister a light kick, turning her on her side and saving her and Izuku from any more unneeded embarrassment. You did it again. Lean some poise, why don't you? I'm sorry Koko-chan, I tripped on my dress again. Kahlua said, finishing with a sigh as if resigned to her own clumsy nature. Kokoa just rolled her eyes. Anyway, like my sister was saying, we really didn't mean to go over the top, and if it's okay with you, Izuku-san, Kokoa stressed the suffix, we'd like to start fresh. Yes please, Maya said, bowing repeatedly with her hands folded in front of her. We would like to be Izuku-san's friend first and subject second. Isn't that right, Poppy? Poppy saluted. Roger. Taicho is important, but a flock has to stick together, Poppy said in her own bird-brained way. Yahoo, don't forget about us. Kurumu said, speaking for herself and Midnight both while pulling her partner into a one-armed hug. We're gonna be your bodyguards till the trial is over and probably after, so we might as well get to know each other too, right? Us either. Kushima piped up, if Midoriya doesn't have any male friends he's likely to drown in estrin or something. A distinct possibility, Mirio joked. We should buy Izuku-san a life preserver just in case. Very funny boys, Midnight conceded. To Midoriya she said, you can call me Namuri or Kayama-san if you want to, Izuku-san, since we'll be spending so much time together. Hearing everyone's uplifting words, Izuku slowly lowered his hands from his head, and raised his head from the floor. Thank you everyone, I'm sorry you had to witness this episode. Mina sighed in relief when she heard him speak and hugged him. Don't even worry about it Midori, I probably should have waited a bit before dragging you outside like this. You've got a lot on your plate right now, sorry. It's not your fault Mina, I'm just trying to wrap my head around all of this, it's a lot to take in, Izuku admitted. From going to no one to someone after, what I did. Mina pulled back and slapped him on the arm, you were never no one Midori. You had your mom and Mitsuki-san and her husband, right? Seeing him nod, Mina continued. Then you had people who cared, meaning you were someone to them. And now, well now you're someone to us too. Especially me, she said in an almost whisper. Midnight smiled at the scene. She knew the start of young love when she saw it. Those two will make a cute couple, Namuri thought to herself. Seeing a rustle in a nearby bush and sighing to herself, the 69th ranked heroine thought to herself, Gunhead, what are you doing over there? The man's head poked up from the bushes, how'd you know it was me Midnight? Gujiji, what are you doing here? Mina cried out. Your arm was sticking out. Midnight used her flogging WHP to point at the fact his barrel-shaped arm was sticking out of the bushes. Oh, well darn. Gunhead muttered. He stood up and brushed the leaves and twigs off his person before shamelessly replying while striking a heroic pose, I was spying on my niece. That's not something you brag about. Mina protested, shaking her arms in the air animatedly to show her anger. It really isn't, Midnight agreed with the teen under her breath before addressing the senior-ranked pro. And that's all, no ulterior motives? Nope, just looking out for Minakai over there. And Izuku-chan too, of course, the pro hero promised. Midnight sighed, running a hand through her hair with her free hand. Sorry for doubting you, it's just. I'm doing my job. Yeah, I get it, Izuku-chan is in a tough spot right now, yeah. Need an extra hand? I've got 2 of them to spare. Gunhead offered. Midnight smiled appreciatively, it would be a big help, thank you, with your Gatling quirk, combined with my Somnambulist and Allure's allure we should be just fine. Yada. And I get to spend more time with Mina Kai while at work too. Gunhead said happily. Don't just ignore the fact you were hiding in the bushes spying on me and my friends, you creepy old man. Mina cried out, still annoyed. My dad put you up to this, didn't he? Gen-chan did no such thing. Gunhead denied. It's a hero's job to look out for others after all, I just so happen to be looking out for specific people today, that's all. Midnight laughed at Gunhead's response, an interesting line of thinking you've got there, Gunhead. Stepping out of the bushes showed the man was covered in thorns, he'd been hiding in a bramble patch. Thank you, I may need to find a first aid kit. Some of these thorns are stuck in some rather sensitive areas. Kirishima and Mirio covered their crotches in sympathy while Izuku got up off the bench and moved towards the wounded hero, his hand moving forward warily. With your permission, Gunhead, I'd like to try something. Go ahead, Izuku-chan. I doubt you could make me feel any worse, the older man said in a piteous whiny tone. Nodding, Izuku put his hand flat on Gunhead's chest while thinking, if I can absorb life force and bend it to my will, then theoretically I should also be able to use it to heal, right? Izuku decided to test his theory by reaching down into his gut where that roiling mass of energy lay, and coaxing some of it up and down his arm that was pressed flat against the pro-hero's chest. Nothing happened for a moment, then a light green glow enveloped Gunhead's form and steam came out of his wounds as various needles and cuts faded or popped out of his body. Once he looked well enough, Izuku cut off the flow and the Archlich asked, do you feel better now, Gunhead-san? Wow, I haven't felt this good in ages, Izuku-chan. I think you even got that annoying KNK out of my back that my acupuncturist couldn't even get. The pro-hero bounced on his feet and threw a couple of experimental punches. Yeah, I'm feeling good now. Thanks a bunch, Izuku-chan. No problem, Gunhead. Happy to help. Izuku looked like he wanted to bring up something but abstained in the end. Mina was having none of that though, having seen the boy have a nervous breakdown from keeping his thoughts to himself once already. Whatcha thinkin', Midori? I can't help but think that I should be learning what magic I can as soon as possible. A trial could take months. Izuku shook his head, the more the thought about it the more he disliked the idea of waiting. Not if people might be trying to hurt him and his friends. Or years. I can't afford to wait that long. Do you not trust in us to keep you safe, Izuku-san? Kahlua asked, sounding hurt. Izuku shook his head. It isn't about me doubting your skills, Kahlua-san, it's about me being ready to defend myself should I ever need to. Izuku started to pace, his hands held behind his back. If people are coming for me, I want to be able to defend myself properly. That's all. Mina wanted to interject and tell him he was being paranoid, but she noticed he wasn't stuttering at all. So she let him carry on his tirade, thinking, just let it all out, Midori, let it all out. And if I know how to fight, just in case people get past you guys somehow. As Izuku carried on, green sparks shot off his form, outlining groups of specters that gathered around Izuku as he paced. What the? Kirishima began. Oh dear, Kahlua said, biting her thumbnail, it seems Izuku-san is making even more friends than he realized. Midori. And if I know how to use magic, then I can be more helpful to people. Izuku carried on, ghosts politely moving out of his way as he paced. Midori. Mina stressed again as more sparks flew off his body, making even more ghosts visible to the naked eye. Which is why I think I should start training as soon as possible. Izuku. Everyone yelled at him. What? The young Archlich looked around and noticed all of the ghosts, whom waved and or nodded politely in his direction. Except for the squirrels, the ghosts of all the squirrels just kept crawling all over the trees, and him. What the hell did I do? Nice ghost squirrels, please stay away from my nuts please, Izuku said gently. The ethereal squirrels stopped, perched themselves on his shoulder, and looked at him with hollow eyes. Good squirrels. Maybe we should call you the animal ghost whisperer Midoriya. Kirishima called out. Not in the mood for Kirishima's dumb brand of humor. Izuku deadpanned. Squirrels, go take Kirishima's nuts. Funnily enough, they scampered off his arm and chased after the redhead, who was running full tilt in the opposite direction while yelling, "Not cool. Not cool, man. Dude, are they really gonna be able to do anything to him?" Mina asked between chuckles as she watched him flee from a pack of a dozen ghostly rodents. Izuku shrugged. "I've no idea honestly. But I think they're harmless." This fact was proven when one particularly tenacious flying squirrel phased right through Kirishima's groin. What the F, man? I feel like someone just poured a bag of ice on my junk. Is that all? Izuku called out, cupping his hands over his mouth, briefly forgetting he didn't talk like a normal person anymore. What do you mean, is that all? That's F cold, man. Wah! Kirishima jumped in the air when another one passed through him, this time his back. Damn it, quit doing that. Izuku wished he had a pen and notebook right now. This is fascinating. I wish I could write all this down. Mina snapped her fingers. We never did get you a new journal, did we? This would be a perfect time for one too. Fact number 1, ghosts seem to exhibit a cold response from living beings, Izuku said in a clinical tone. Ghosts are cold, Mina paraphrased. Hearing a cawing from above, Mina looked up and she kept staring as she called, "Midori, you'd better take a look at this." What is it? Izuku looked up and found the nearby trees covered in ghostly birds. Seagulls, ravens, rooks, hawks, crows, and all other manner of flying feathered animal was just perched in the tree staring down at them, or more specifically, Izuku. Nice birdies," Izuku said with faux hope in his tone. In response, a lone raven swooped down from the tree and alighted on his shoulder. It stared him in the eye, and Izuku found himself staring back for a moment before the bird nodded, just once before taking off again. As if by some unknown signal, all of the ghostly birds took flight at once, one after the other, until the trees were bare of false images of life, and the ghastly apparitions faded from sight. "Okay, that was kinda cool," Mirio said after a moment of silence. "What about the dead people though?" "Good question," Izuku said mostly to himself. He motioned one of the nearby wandering dead, a young man who was dressed in a soldier's uniform forward. Excuse me, sir. Can I help you with something?" "Private Kenji Takamura, sir." The young man saluted. "How might I be of assistance, my emperor?" "Emperor?" Izuku asked, blinking and pointing at himself. The man bowed low. "Yes, my emperor, how might this one serve?" Izuku needed more information, so he asked, "Tell me, Takamura-san, what year is it?" "It is 1943, my emperor, and by your grace, we shall wipe out the western barbarians and cleanse our land of their filth." 1943 SHT. This guy is from World War II. Izuku realized. "Okay, Takamura-san, wait here for further instructions and if possible gather up any of your fellows." The private saluted. "Yes, my emperor." Izuku walked back to the others. "I summoned a ghost from the Second World War. What do I do?" That's not something you hear every day," Mina said. "Okay, how does he see you? Are you his commanding officer, a general, or what?" "He thinks I'm Emperor Hirohito, the one who surrendered during World War II. The guy who had to claim he wasn't descended from gods." "Mina-chan, did you not pay attention in history class? When he kept receiving a blank stare from the pink alien girl." "But Midori, prequaric history is so boring," Mina complained, before carrying on. "So you're someone super important, we can work with that," Mina replied. She nodded. "Okay, this is what we're gonna do, you're gonna introduce me as this Hirohito guy's wife." "What?" Izuku said in complete deadpan. Trust me, this'll work. Then you and I can boss these guys around." "How is that helpful for getting rid of them?" Izuku replied. "It's really helpful to me," Mina replied. Why learn history when I can talk to people who were there? Now all I need is that Stephen Hawking guy for math and I'll be all set, you don't suppose? Mina, I am not raising Stephen Hawking's ghost just so you can pass your math classes, Izuku deadpanned. Okay, well, what about that Einstein guy? Mina needled. I'll happily settle for him. No. Izuku for the first time raised his voice to his friend. That would be very disrespectful to both a dead person and yourself. If you need help with your homework, just ask me or something, don't drag the dead into this. Now, do you have an actual plan to help me get rid of the ghosts, or are you just going to keep fooling around? He thought Mina would be angry with him for telling her off, but she just smiled. Yep, but you still need to introduce me as that Hiro Burrito guy's wife for it to work. Hirohito. How did you even get it mixed up with Mexican food? Izuku asked. Mina just shrugged. I did spend some time in America, I told you that, right? Izuku corrected, you mentioned your mother was from there but never said you went yourself. Yeah, well, anyway, just introduce me as Hirakiro's wife and follow my lead, okay? Hirohito. Also, why do you keep getting his name mixed up with Mexican food? Again, Mina just shrugged. I dunno, but now I'm hungry for churros. Can we get churros on the way home, Midori? Where are we going to find a Mexican desert in Japan, Mina-chan? As he walked back towards the ghost. Well, there's got to be a knockoff bell around here somewhere, right? Mina replied. When they neared the ghost of Private Kenji Takamura, the man along with 39 others prompt saluted, it is an honor to be in your presence, our illustrious emperor. Izuku raised his hands for silence, which he was immediately given. Gentlemen, I would like to introduce my wife, Empress Kojin. She would like to say a few words. The men bowed low in reverence. The Empress herself, we are not worthy. Greetings, gentlemen, you have done a great service to the Chrysanthemum throne, and thus, it has been decided for such fealty you shall be rewarded by becoming the personal bodyguards of my husband and myself. The ghosts bowed even lower. We are not worthy of such high positions, your highness. On the contrary, gentlemen, we believe otherwise, Mina replied, done her best to fake a hoity-toity accent. On that note, you shall be split into 2 teams of 20 each. Half of you shall be guarding me and the other half, my husband. What of the emperor's concubines? One man noted before motioning to Kahlua, should they not be protected as well? For it is clear the emperor has raided the western barbarians and taken the crown jewels of their women. Mina was totally thrown off her game by this question. Nei-chan, I think that ghost just called you Izuku-san CNCBN. Kokoa said. Kahlua said after a moment to think, tapping her chin with her finger. I would not dislike being in such a position. En-nichan. Kokoa said, blushing, a bit of BLD dripping from her nose. Seeing the situation beginning to spiral out of control, Izuku took change. 2 of you will guard every woman you see on that bench over there, the remaining 10 shall take 12-hour shifts guarding the Empress and myself. Am I clear? The ghosts bowed in reverence to their emperor. Yes, Emperor Hirohito. Then you are dismissed to see to your new duties. Please come tell us if you find something amiss, Izuku said, before he waved his arm out in front of him, causing the ghosts to dissipate into thin air as if made of smoke. Once they were gone, Izuku slumped over and sighed before sending Mina a half-hearted glare. I thought you said you had a plan, Mina-chan. I did, sorta. The CNCBN bit totally threw me, okay. Mina defended. You pulling SHT out of your butt in the heat of the moment doesn't count as a plan, Mina-chan, Izuku said tiredly. Mina nodded, not having the strength or heart to disagree with him. Nice job saving our butts, Midori. Now, about those churros. We'll stop by a knockoff bell on the way home and spend money we still don't have, Izuku said in realization. After a performance like that, knockoff bell is on me. Midnight promised only to give Izuku bedroom eyes and say flirtatiously. But Izuku-san, I had no idea you were into older women, especially myself. I'm flattered you would consider me CNCBN material, really. What? The boy stuttered out. Well, you did say all of the women over on the bench were your concubines, Midnight reminded him teasingly. Oh, OSHT. He tried to get the words out but they just wouldn't come. Well, if Midoriya-san insists, being a CNCBN doesn't sound so bad, Maya said holding her cheeks while she blushed. Izuku and Mina said at the same time. Maya continued, in a shy nervous tone, can I call you darling? Kahlua help please. Izuku begged. Kahlua has already said she doesn't mind being your CNCBN Izuku-san, the bronze blonde said with a smile completely missing the point. After all, her mother always told her she needed to practice getting a man. So why not get a boyfriend first? Kokoa. Izuku felt his hope dwindling. Please. The redhead looked away, a blush on her face. Well, if it's what Izuku-san wants. No. No, it is not what I want at all. He looked to Kurumu and then just as quickly dismissed her. You're not going to be any help. Hey. I've been in this situation once already and it sucked the first time around, I'll have you know. Her voice was filled with quite a bit of anguish as she spoke. The undead boy made a mental note to ask about that at some point, but now was not the time. Help please Kurumu-san. Izuku said instead. The succubus sighed to herself with her hands on her hips. Fine, but only because you asked nicely and you're kinda cute. What about me is cute, exactly? I look like a walking corpse. That's what I have the hardest time figuring out. Izuku thought to himself. It was Kahlua who answered him. Monsters have a different value on what we define as normal, Izuku-kun. We for example have no problem living in slightly run-down moldy structures. We find human residences too clean and dead, by contrast. Nothing is able to grow in them, and it smells chemically. By that same token, to most monsters, you would be seen as quite handsome. Right, Mina-san? Yeah, wait, what? The alien girl asked, caught off guard by the question. Okay, everyone, listen up. Allure said, raising her voice to get everyone's attention. You're freaking out my charge, and since it's my job to protect him, I must ask that you cease and desist effective immediately. This girl tries too hard sometimes, Midnight thought to herself. Okay, we get it, Allure, fun time is over. So, Midnight said, cracking her flogging WHP through the air. Knock off Bell then home. Can someone please get Midoriya to do something about these DMN squirrels? Kirishima yelled out. Oops, Izuku said before letting out a shrill whistle to call the ghostly rodents off. Take 5 guys. I'll call you again if I need you. The squirrels nodded before winking out of existence. And Izuku called out, you okay Kirishima? F squirrels man, just F squirrels. Kirishima replied breathless as he laid on his back in the grass. The Aijiro Kirishima would go on to be terrified of squirrels from that day forth. True to her word, Midnight took the group to knock off Bell and then back to the Ashido household. When they came through the door, Gendo looked up from his paper which he seemed to constantly be reading, and said, hello children, I see you've met your bodyguards Izuku. Regardless, did you have a fun day out? It was somewhat relaxing, yes. Gendo nodded, that's good to hear, because unfortunately I have to be the bearer of bad news. Izuku braced himself, his hand automatically reaching for and finding Mina's. What is it, sir? Both All Might and Bakugou Katsuki have called for their right to a speedy trial. With the sensitivity of the case and who one of the defendants is, the case will be held a week from today. Izuku couldn't help himself, Fuck. Midoriya Izuku. His mother chastised from the kitchen. Sorry mom, but in this case I think I've earned it considering I'll be going to court in a week, her son apologized. Oh I heard dear, hang in there. Inko called, with as much pep in her voice as she could muster. I'm making your favorite for dinner. As a pick-me-up. Mina nudged Izuku in the side, hey, Midori, what's your favorite food anyway? Pork katsudon. You Mina-chan? Izuku asked. Natto and okra. We're serving that on the side honey, Emma called from the kitchen. Her tone took on a teasing lilt as she called out, "Why don't you come in here and help cook? Show off for your future husband a bit. You know, they say the fastest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And Midori isn't my boyfriend. Or my future husband," Mina said, stomping into the kitchen. "Move over, I'll show you how to cook, darn it." "Well, I think it's clear," Kahlua said plainly after watching that scene play out, "that Mina-chan is the legal wife." "What?" Izuku said. "What?" Gendo growled, his glasses flaring murderously in Izuku's direction. "Midoriya, while you were out today, did you happen to trick my daughter into some sort of HRM situation?" "No, sir, I didn't, I swear," Izuku said, waving his arms out in front of him frantically as if trying to ward off the man's fatherly wrath. "We're the concubines," Kahlua added unhelpfully while smiling angelically and completely unaware of the consequences of what she just said. "I'm giving you a 3-minute head start, and that's only because that's how long it'll take me to go upstairs, and get my gun out of its safe. I suggest you start running," Gendo advised as he made his way out of the room. "Mina-chan. Your dad's gone to get his gun to shoot me with it," Izuku called out. A sigh came from the kitchen and Emma came out, her hands on her hips. "What crazy idea has that man got in his head now? He thinks IT tricked Mina-chan into joining a HRM. Emma laughed, "That's ridiculous." "We're the concubines," Kahlua said again, and again she was not helping Izuku's cause. Emma blinked. "You didn't form a HRM while you were out today, did you?" "No." Izuku turned and gave Kahlua a sharp look. "Stop saying that. You're not helping Kahlua-san." The blonde vampiress cocked her head to the side in an adorable way. "But Izuku-san, didn't you tell the ghosts we were your concubines?" "Ghosts?" Emma echoed. "When are ghosts involved in a normal teenage outing?" "I'm starting to think that nothing is ever normal when I'm involved, Emma-san," Izuku replied in a self-deprecating tone. Emma waved away his concerns. "Nonsense, dear, I haven't known you long, but I think you're an absolutely darling boy." Izuku bowed at the compliment. "Thank you, Emma-san. Don't worry about it, plus, like I believe I've mentioned previously, I've never seen Mina this happy since you came around." Izuku rubbed his head. "Well, I'm glad I could cheer her up at least." The sound of Gendo coming back down the stairs was heard. When he spotted Izuku, his glasses flared. "Oh good, you didn't run," he cocked his service weapon. "It saves me the trouble of having to chase you down." "Honey," Emma said sharply, getting her husband's attention and fixing him with a glare that said, "No SEC for a month, and, you're sleeping on the couch if you don't do as I say. Go put that thing away before somebody gets hurt." But dear, our daughter tricked HRM," Gendo protested. "There were extenuating circumstances, now march," Emma said, pointing back up the stairs. Gendo grumbled something about his little princess purity as he stomped back up the stairs. Once her husband had gone to put his gun away, Emma inquired, "Now, what was all this about ghosts?" Izuku explained the situation as best he could, and when he got to the part about her daughter introducing herself as Empress Kojin, Emma couldn't help but laugh and say, "They bought that?" Izuku nodded. "They did." Mina then gave a grand speech about how they were supposed to be our bodyguards from now on, and then one of them asked about my concubines. Izuku gestured vaguely towards Kahlua, who twiddled her fingers at him and smiled, which in the end, completely threw Mina-chan off. "I ended up having to take charge. Then I teased him mercilessly because he said all of the girls on the bench, which included myself," Midnight added with a lascivious grin. Emma nodded. "That was to be expected of Midnight, really." "Then what happened?" "Well, after we called the ghost squirrels off Kirishima-san." Wait, ghost squirrels?" Emma asked, thrown for a loop after hearing something so far out of left field. "Yeah, I didn't just bring back the ghosts of people. It also worked on the local wildlife. Birds, squirrels, and the like." Emma was now writing this down on her notepad, which she seemed to keep on her person at all times. Yes, go on." "The birds took off somewhere, and Kirishima got on my nerves, so I told the squirrels to attack him." Seeing the look the woman was giving him, the archlich quickly elaborated, they didn't hurt him, in fact from what I observed, they couldn't hurt him. All they could do was give him a chill. Muttering something about boys and their toys, Emma asked, and then what happened? We went to knock off Bell on Midnight-san's dime. Thank you again Midnight, Izuku said with a bow, then we parted ways with Kirishima-san and Togata-san and came here, that's it. Emma read over what she'd read of Izuku's abilities. I swear the more I learn of what he's capable of the more fascinating he becomes, the woman thought to herself. Well, it seems you had an interesting day Izuku-san, I'm sorry we had to somewhat ruin it by you coming home to bad news and my husband being overprotective. Emma gave the boy an apologetic bow in response. Izuku waved his hands in front of him, and no need to apologize Emma-san, really. I know Mina-chan is very special and I can see why Gendo-san would be so protective. Izuku's tone became thoughtful as he continued, if Mina-chan was my daughter I'd probably be the same way. Izuku paused for a moment before adding timidly, he does know I'd ask his permission before taking Mina out on a D-date, right? I do now, Gendo said as he finished descending the stairs, while I'm still not thrilled about this HRM thing. It's not even a thing. Izuku protested. Yet. Kahlua said from the sidelines. Not helping Kahlua-san. Anyway, Gendo interrupted, it's nice to know you'd at least ask me before you took my little girl out. Duh, obviously Midori would ask you for permission before he asked me out. Mina said with her arms folded standing in the entryway to the kitchen. She now had an apron over her clothes and a handkerchief over her hair that had 2 holes cut in it for her horns. She had a bit of flour on her face from where she had been dipping pork cutlets into flour before cooking them. Izuku just couldn't stop staring at her. Mina cocked her head to the side, noticing his gaze. What is it Midori? Do I have something on my face? Mina-chan cute, Izuku thought to himself. Emma looked back and forth between the two before grinning, oh, I think we've just discovered Izuku-san's type. He seems to have a thing for domestic-type women. You're in the lead dear, congratulations. Mina flushed violet. Midori. Mom. The alien girl turned around so neither of them could see her blush or her happy smile. Dinner is just about ready so get to the table. Mina called before heading back into the kitchen. Alright, thanks Mina-chan. Izuku moved to make his way into the dining room only to stop when Emma placed her hand on his shoulder and whispered into his ear, you know Izuku-san we're fine with you asking Mina out anytime you're ready right? We are. Gendo asked only to receive a painful jab in the ribs from his wife. I mean, of course we are. Yes we are, Emma reiterated, we started dating at 14 after all, and we did it behind my father's back. Izuku-san is being man enough to ask you up front. Isn't that sweet of him? Emma asked with a shark-like smile directed at her husband. Yes, Gendo grumbled silently. He knew better than to argue with his wife when she was like this. Really? Seeing both parents nod, Gendo more reluctantly than his wife, Izuku replied, well, maybe after the tea trial. A lot is going on right now and yeah. Whenever you feel comfortable dear, Emma told him, now, shall we go have dinner? I've never had homemade katsudon before but your mother's recipe smells delicious. Despite everything going on in his life, Izuku managed a slight smile and a nod, yeah, let's go. Meanwhile while the Ishido household was fuller than usual for the second night in a row, another gathering of sorts was taking place in the World War II memorial graveyard. For as 20 bony fists punched their way out of their graves, the yellowed skeletal fists held together by strands of green necromantic energy. As the skeletons dragged themselves out of their graves, their bodies covered in dirt, their joints creaking with every movement, and their eye sockets filled with pinpricks of power for eyes. The undead creatures spoke in one voice, shambling out of their graves to fulfill their given orders. Their bones began to repair themselves and bleached. They became whole again and strength infused their limbs. For Emperor Hirohito. It was the day of the trial and Izuku, due to not needing to sleep, spent a majority of the past week fretting about today. As it drew closer he spent more and more time at night wandering the streets of the Chiba prefecture as his constant mental mutterings would keep Mina awake at night. He had become very familiar with the streets and back alleys of his temporary home. That is not to say strange things didn't happen to him on occasion. The first of many such occurrences happened the day after his first meeting with Kaluwa Shuzen and her sister Kokoa. Izuku was asked to come downstairs by his nervous mother. Izuku didn't think much of it at first, as his mother was always nervous. So he walked downstairs and inquired. "Yes, Mom. Why are there skeletons on the Ishido's front lawn, Izuku dear?" Inko asked. Izuku blinked, slowly before he went over to the window where Gendo was using a pair of binoculars out his living room window to spy on this new potential threat. Izuku looked out the window to see no less than 20 skeletons just standing there forming a perimeter around the Ishido's house. "Good morning, Izuku-kun," Emma said, chipper as always. "Dear, there are skeletons on our lawn," Gendo reminded his wife as he sent the resident necromancer a glare that made his glasses shine. Said woman nudged her husband hard in his kidney, never losing her smile as she handed Izuku some morning tea. Now Gendo, don't be like that to Izuku-kun. He's still coming into his quirk and still trying to figure out how it works and its full limitations. I'm sure the fact you're practically planning on writing a book on the boy has nothing to do with this, Gendo ground out in pain. None at all, Emma replied with a smile. If I do end up writing a book you will of course get some of the proceeds, Izuku-kun, say 15%. That's fine. The Archlich replied in confusion. I'm writing down everything I'm capable of anyway, so having some extra help won't hurt. Emma agreed wholeheartedly. Yes, now, as to this, Emma gestured to the cohort of skeletons on her lawn. Any idea how this happened? Izuku ran a hand through his shock white hair. Well, Mina wanted them to guard us, but I guess they couldn't do that as ghosts, so in order to do that they might have repossessed their former corpses. Emma nodded, writing this down on a notepad. Aha, makes sense. So 20 World War II soldiers are surrounding the house to protect you and Mina then? There were 40, I don't know where the other 20 are. Gendo sighed. So we have 20 potential skeletons unaccounted for. Do I need to put an APB out on the undead? I can't believe I just said that. I'll go out and talk to them, Izuku replied. Maybe I can find out where the others are. He barely noticed the chill of the morning as he made his way across the lawn, careful not to accidentally kill any of Emma-san's rose bushes or any more of their lawn. The skeletons stood at attention as he approached. Our Emperor. At ease, gentlemen, I would like a sitrep on the locations of your fellows, Izuku all but demanded. The skeletons looked at each other and one of them, Takahiro, Izuku thought, replied, they are fulfilling your orders by protecting your concubines, my lord. CRP, Izuku said to himself. Across Japan several people were waking up to find skeletons standing guard in their homes. Izuku would be blamed for this, and a good laugh would be had on his behalf after he profusely apologized. Izuku had taken late-night walks as the trial neared, becoming more and more anxious. So he walked the streets at night, but he didn't walk alone. Nowadays he was followed by no less than 10 skeletons. In truth, Izuku didn't mind their presence, but they made it difficult to go into certain places like stores, restaurants, not that he needed much in the way of actual food, or anywhere that wasn't a costume shop really. On the flip side, he could walk down the street freely as people tended to give the Walking Dead a wide berth, on trains they would all but jump out of their way. He felt somewhat bad about that, and the younger crowd kept wanting to take pictures with them. Meaning Izuku found himself suddenly very popular with teens his own age in Chiba Prefecture. Tonight he found himself standing at the docks listening to the surf and seagulls and just waiting for dawn, wishing today was over already. My lord, if I may speak frankly. Takahiro, his right-hand skeleton asked. Go ahead. The skeleton spoke, likely through his own form of limited telepathy. You seem nervous of late. Is something the matter? Izuku laughed a little at that. I am expected in court in a few hours. I am nervous. The skeleton nodded. Ah, His Eminence is presiding over a court case. Yes, it all makes sense now. Weighing the life of an individual is a rather difficult burden to bear. May this lowly one ask the charges of the accused? Perhaps I can share some insight. Izuku was silent for a time. Both stand accused of manslaughter as the highest charge. One bullied and abused a boy to the point he committed suicide. The other failed to stop it when he was in a position of power to do so. I see, so a child saw fit to take their own life due to one of his peers. Tell me, my emperor, does the younger of the accused have a goal, dream, or aspiration? The undead inquired curiously. Yui, Izuku thought, the very name of the school he once aspired towards put a bitter taste in his mouth. Yes. Takahiro continued, then what better punishment than to deny him his dream for all time? Allow him to live, knowing he will never be able to attain his aspirations. That he will forever be less than what he feels he should be. Izuku thought it over. The young archlich thought that yes, if it were up to him, this would be a fitting punishment. Bakugou being able to go to Yui but unable to join the hero course. Yes, that would be great. It would PSS him off so much, he thought. As for the other person, is he a high-ranking military officer or similar civilian ranking? The equivalent of a general, I suppose, Izuku said, his thoughts and tone becoming morose as they turned towards All Might. He is extremely well liked by the people. The skeleton was silent for a moment before he said, cut his pay. Fine him heavily, but do not deprive the people of a useful resource. Death or forced retirement would only serve to strengthen our enemies and weaken ourselves. People need someone to look up to. Izuku mulled it over for a moment. True, true. Thank you, Takahiro, you've been very helpful. You are most welcome, my emperor. If you must prepare for court, then may I suggest we head back early so as to give you time to prepare? Good idea, Izuku replied as he turned his back on the scenic view of the sun rising on the horizon over the waves. He arrived at the house and slipped into the front door like a ghost. Hoping he didn't wake anyone up. Out for another late-night walk, Izuku-kun? The boy almost jumped when he heard Emma ask that question. She was in a chair in the sitting room nursing a cup of tea. Emma-san. Izuku said, putting a hand over his heart on instinct. You scared me. Sorry, so today's the big day, Emma said, her eyes both violet at the moment flicking to Izuku. You're nervous, it's perfectly natural. Izuku sighed, a nervous tick he hadn't let go of even though he didn't need to breathe anymore. Thanks. You're welcome. Have you decided what to wear? Emma asked as she made her way into the kitchen, intent on fixing her not-quite son-in-law a cup of tea. I don't have a proper suit, Izuku admitted. That's fine, Emma looked around as the kettle boiled as she whispered conspiratorially, don't tell my husband this, Izuku-kun, but I feel that as bad as the system has failed you, you don't owe them anything. Much less going to court dressed to the nines. You are far more important than any court case, Izuku. You are an archlich. You're a god in the flesh to 10% of the world's population. That's a lot for a 14-year-old boy to handle, but it also grants you some privileges like dressing however the heck you want to. So I should wear my the police shirt then? The undead teen asked. Emma laughed quietly at his reply. Well, maybe not that shirt. Alright. Izuku said as he accepted a cup of green tea from the brewess. I was considering bringing my iPod into the courtroom so my thoughts don't jump into everyone else's heads. Izuku stopped. Wait. What if I get called on to testify? I can't properly do that. I project my emotions, and my words when I get emotional, and I'd see color the jury's thoughts on the CC case, and... Emma put her hands on Izuku's shoulders. Calm down, Izuku, calm down. I'd tell you to breathe, but you don't need to do that anymore. So just count backwards from 10, seeing him beginning to calm, the matron of the Ashido household smiled. There you go. Something you need to learn and that I'm going to teach you, Izuku-kun are coping mechanisms for stress so you don't get all wound up like that. It's not good for you, you know. Thank you Emma-san, Izuku said with a bow. Isn't this something you would do as a quirk counselor or RN though? Don't I need to be a patient of yours first? Emma just giggled behind her hand, her eyes turning a bright vibrant green in the process. Oh Izuku-kun, you've unofficially been a patient of mine since the day we've met. The Archlich blinked. Oh. Do I need to pay you at some point or? Emma waved her hands dismissively. No. No. You being friends with Mina is all the payment I could ever ask for. Izuku frowned at that. It didn't sit right with him, getting something for free that other people had to pay for just because he was her daughter's friend, possibly best friend maybe more. Izuku gave his head a shake. Now isn't the time to think about that Izuku. He chastised himself. I still feel like I should pay you something, Izuku grumbled. Emma got a sly grin on her face as her eyes turned dollar bill green. Well if you feel that strongly about it. When you win, and you will win, force All Might to make a donation to my hospital here in Chiba. That way, you'll be indirectly paying me, and can take full advantage of any service I can offer you. If I win I'll do that, Izuku promised. Emma clapped her hands together. Great. Now how about you help me cook breakfast? Oh okay. Izuku said somewhat eagerly, even if he was caught off guard. Good. 'Cause let me tell you, girls like guys who can cook. My Mina especially, though she's an old hand in the kitchen herself. The Archlich opened the fridge and got out eggs, sausage, and the rice steamer for a typical Japanese breakfast before looking at Emma, who smiled. Good idea, a normal breakfast is good every once in a while. I did like that quiche you made the other day though. Oh the quiche. Emma said, I'm glad you liked it, but you're putting too much stress on the chew sound in quiche. It sounds more like a quiche vocally. Oh, thanks. No problem. If Mina is good at any subject, it's English. It's her second language. The two carried on with idle chit-chat as they cooked. Before long, either the smell of food or tea and coffee brewing drew the remaining occupants from their beds. Mina, the last to arrive, shuffled into the kitchen like a zombie, like she always did before she had her first cup of coffee in the morning. Morning Midori, Mina yawned as she accepted her cup of life-rejuvenating back nectar and downed it in 3 gulps. Ah! I'm alive again. Welcome be back to the land of the living Mina, Izuku joked as he pulled out her chair for her. Thanks Midori, whether she was playing along with his joke or thanking him for being a gentleman and holding her chair out for her, none could tell. Izuku was the most confused of all. You're welcome. Gendo interrupted what could have been another in a long list of moments between his little princess and the Midoriya boy by clearing his throat. Today is the day of Bakugou and All Might's trial. Since basically any courthouse is likely to be packed with All Might supporters, a local well-off judge has been gracious enough to allow the proceedings to take place at her home. This was news to Izuku. Really? Gendo nodded, taking a bite of food before he carried on, indeed. Furthermore, due to the risk of the jury pool being completely tainted due to All Might's fame and heroism, it has been decided that the case will not have won, and all evidence and agreements shall be presented to the judge herself who will then deliberate in her chambers and come back with a verdict. Will I have to testify? Izuku asked worriedly. Mina on instinct reached out and took his hand clasping it in one of hers. He took what little strength and reassurance from it he could. It'll be okay Midori, just get through today, and then we figure out what to do with the rest of your life, one day at a time. Mina then looked at her father and asked, what's the name of the judge anyway? Gendo coughed a bit, clearing his throat as he said, she's a rather new young judge from a well-to-do family by the name of Benienma. Now, just because the trial won't be taking place at a courthouse won't mean you won't be under guard Izuku. Allure, Midnight, Moen, Kahlua, and Kokoa Shuzen will all be guarding you both during and from the trial at all times. In fact, Kahlua and Cocoa have been shadowing you on those late-night walks of yours. Izuku was surprised to hear that. They have? I wished they would have joined me. I would have liked the company. Feeling Mina's grip suddenly tighten on his hand, he looked over to see the horned girl glaring daggers at him. Going out on midnight walks alone, Midori? I brought the skeleton guards, well, more like they followed me, but still. Besides, it's not like I can't defend myself, Mina-san. The pinkette's glare faltered before dying out completely. True, I just worry. Izuku did his best to smile. I know you do, you're a good friend. Everyone rushed around getting ready for the trial. Izuku, though the most nervous, had to do the least. He threw on a pair of charcoal-washed jeans, a shirt with green lettering on it that said, "Go have a nice day somewhere else." Along with a frowny face, and his usual boots. Everyone else by contrast was putting on their best suits or kimonos. Izuku meanwhile set himself up to answer the door in case anyone knocked, as he steadily ate his way through a packet of sakura tree seeds, not out of hunger, but out of nervousness. He almost jumped when the first knock came. Quickly glancing outside the front curtains to see who it was, Izuku answered the door to see both of the Shuens sisters standing on the front steps. Kahlua smiled when she saw him. Hello, Izuku shh. She tripped and fell forward only to be caught in a bridal carry by the boy in question. Are you alright, Kahlua-san? Izuku asked in concern as Kahlua's tan cheeks began to redden from embarrassment. Cocoa rolled her eyes with a teasing smirk on her lips. Nei-chan is fine, she just likes being held in your arms is all. Sup, Izuku-san. Cocoa. Stop telling fibs on your big sister to make yourself look cool, the assassin said with the blush staining her bronze cheeks glowing even brighter. The red-headed vampiress scoffed as she came inside. Like I need to lie in order to make myself look cooler than you klutzy vampire, she scanned the room and asked. We're the first ones here, aren't we? Why yes. Izuku gently set Kahlua up straight and stammered out. You are. Cocoa started muttering things like, lazy, and unprofessional. Before shaking her head and going off on a tirade. Mon is supposed to be guarding Izuku-sama. I mean, he's the first archlich in centuries and we're here before they are. Not to mention that useless former senior of mine. Watch your DMN mouth, you little brat. Allure said, entering through the front door with a flying kick to Cocoa's head, sending her toppling end over end. Following close behind her was Midnight, Gunhead, and all of Mon, including Smith and Nuri. Nuri-san, nice to see you again, Izuku said with a bow. Izuku-kun, always a pleasure. I didn't happen to miss breakfast, did I? He asked hopefully. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. You did, unfortunately. DMN. He said, snapping his fingers. Well, maybe I can beg Emma-san for the recipe for her pot roast. No need to beg, Nuri-san, Emma replied as she came down the stairs wearing an elegant white kimono that had little rabbits outlined on it, her pink hair tied up in an elaborate bun. You look great, Emma-san, Izuku complimented, absent-mindedly catching a baseball bat swing from Cocoa aimed at Kurumu's head, surprising both girls at how easily he caught and stopped all momentum of the 100 kilograms bat. Midnight took that moment to chastise them and say. That's enough, you two. Play around later. Whatever, Cocoa said, yanking on her bat twice before finally pulling it out of Izuku's grip and tossing it behind her back, where it turned back into her flying pet bat, Komori. Izuku-sama is strong. Komori complimented. Strong enough already to stop a blow from Cocoa-sama. He's an archlich. They are far from weak, though not as strong as ogres. They are more than a match for most vampires, Nuri chided. You undead have gone unopposed for far too long if you think you're the top of the food chain. No one asked you, bus driver. Cocoa hissed. Why were you even here anyway? Don't you have a group of students or elderly to be ferrying around? Cocoa, enough. Izuku said with a bit of force, mainly because he didn't want to see her turned into a smear on the floor in someone else's home. VERYYYY-san is you've no idea what or who he really is, do you? Kokoa blinked, surprised Izuku was being so defensive of this person. Izuku-sama, he's just a bus driver, right? He is not just a bus driver, he looked to said man for permission to continue. Taking a puff off his cigar and grinning in amusement, he waved a hand. Go ahead. Izuku locked eyes with the vampiress. He is Rikuo Nura, third head of the Nura clan, and a Nurarihyan. Nurarihyan? Kokoa asked before she burst out laughing. They're a myth, Izuku-sama. Even amongst monsters. Like humans' ideas on Bigfoot. Izuku rubbed at his eyes in exasperation. Nuri-san, a demonstration please. For a brief instant, a wave of yoki engulfed the room, sending everyone sans Izuku and to their knees. I trust that was sufficient. Izuku helped Emma and then Kahlua to her feet again. More than, thank you Nuri-san. He looked to Kokoa, who was forcing herself back to her feet shakily, and asked, do you need more proof, Kokoa-san? No, I'm good, the redhead said as she coughed a bit in embarrassment to hide her blush. What the hell was that? Mina said as she came running down the stairs in a pink kimono that had sakura trees emblazoned on it, with a golden silk obi holding it shut. Though it did burst open rather revealingly around the chest region, nothing explicit was shown. Oh wow, Mina, you look amazing. Izuku complimented without thinking. Oh, this old thing, Mina said, doing a quick twirl for his benefit. I've had it forever. I'm surprised it still fits. Emma gave a little chuckle. It kind of doesn't, dear. When you first bought it, it went down to your feet, now it barely covers your knees, and then there's your top. Mina looked down then back up before she arched an eyebrow and said, so? I look good in this kimono, DMN it. Ah, so Izuku-san's opinion is the only one that matters, Kahlua said. Mina-chan truly is the legal wife. Even if she doesn't realize it yet, the blonde vampire said with airheadness showing. I am not yet, anyway. Mina added. Not ever if I have anything to say about it. Gendo said, coming down in a black pinstripe suit, his glasses shining dangerously in Izuku's direction, causing the archlich to gulp nervously. Dear, Emma said in a dangerous tone that all men knew while she came forward and adjusted his blue tie a little bit too tightly. Be nice. Izuku-kun is stressed out enough as it is. Gendo loosened his tie and nodded himself. Yes, dear. Gen-chan. Gunhead said happily upon seeing his dearest friend. Looking sharp. Before he took out his cell phone and snapped pics of Emma, Mina, Kahlua, and even Midnight posed for him. Goo, I'd say thanks for coming, but I think I've given enough thanks as it is, seeing as I've let you turn my parlor into a photo room. Can I just get one more picture with all of you together? Gunhead pleaded. Only if Izuku-kun joins us, Midnight teased. He is our husband after all. The archlich would have blushed if he could have. Why, you're never gonna let that go, are you, Midnight? The 18-plus heroine shook her head. Nope, she said, popping the pea. Now get in here, lover boy. So, with one final picture taken with several pretty girls crowding around an archlich, the group set out. The moment Izuku stepped outside, he was scooped up into the armored arms of one Tayanisha. Izuku-sama. Good morning. I'd have come inside but it was too small for me. Hello Tayanisha, good morning. Izuku replied, not at all bothered by her hug. That was one of the many things Tio liked about him. She didn't feel the need to hold her strength back all that much with him. Unlike with everyone else who were so delicate like porcelain dolls by comparison. Hey Tio, put the kid down. Zombina called, we gotta get going. Maybe I could carry him on my shoulders? Tio suggested. Smith popped up from behind Zombina. That's not too terrible of an idea actually. We can have Doppel act as a decoy in the car while you get Izuku there safely. Manako will provide both backup and overwatch. I'll follow from a distance as well, Kaluha offered. While the others shadow the car. Ne-chan-en. I want to protect Izuku-sama. Kokoa complained. Kaluuya patted her sister's head. You will be by diverting any potential attackers towards you instead of at Izuku-san. But you're not taking me seriously again, Kokoa said almost under her breath. It was then that Izuku spoke up, Kokoa-san, it's because both Kaluuya-san and I believe in you that we need you to do this. If both of you weren't there, guarding the car, anyone with even half a brain would know something is up. Yet if you're there they are likely to think I am, and thus, attack. After all, who would suspect a powerful vampire like yourself to be guarding a body double? Oh, Izuku-sama is very smart. Not really, it's just a basic strategy. Divide and conquer, but I am relying on you to get the job done. I can do that, right Kokoa? Izuku asked. The redhead snapped to attention. Yes Izuku-sama. I won't let you down. She promised before she all but skipped off. Kaluuya turned to the archlich after she was sure her sister was out of hearing range. Izuku-sama is a good liar, she complimented. Izuku shook his head. I didn't lie. I am depending on her to be a part of the car detail in order to pull it off. I just told it to her in a way she needed to hear. Now, let's get going, shall we? Kaluuya-chan, Tayanisha-chan. Yes Izuku-sama. Both girls said at once before taking off running with an improved opinion of the young archlich. Mina sat in Nari-san's Rolls-Royce with her arms crossed in a huff. She had hoped she could spend this ride chatting amicably with Midori, encouraging him and reassuring him everything was going to be okay at the trial, only for Moen to pull a fast one at the last second. Doppel-chan, who was currently wearing Midori's face, leered at her from her right side as she glared out the window. Aw, come on Mina-chan. Gimme a chance. PSS off, you face-stealing bee, Mina growled, not deigning to face the doppelganger. Instead of being offended, Doppel just giggled. Tell me, what do you see in him anyway? Izuku, I mean. It can't be his looks, right? I mean he's a walking corpse. This time Mina did turn to glare at the face-stealer. Do you honestly think I'm that shallow? Izuku is so much more than his looks. He's put up with more than I can likely ever comprehend. It took All Might, the symbol of peace, the #1 hero in Japan, to finally break him. For a decade, he put up with people belittling him, telling him he'd never amount to anything just because he didn't have a quirk. But he carried on believing he could become a hero. That takes guts. So his personality is the turn-on, is it? Interesting, Doppel replied while smirking to herself. That's a part of it, Mina said. He's not even sure if he wants to be a hero now, and I can't blame him, Mina grinned wickedly. The best part is, he doesn't have to be a hero. He's now more important and famous than any hero, even All Might. Doppel chuckled. True, true. So what about you? Are you still planning on being a hero after all of this? Yes, actually, Mina replied after a moment of thought. I've always wanted to help people like my mom and dad, and this seems the best way to do it. Especially with my quirk being what it is, Mina said as she fiddled with her quirk in her hands, working on thickening it to a gelatinous thickness. She'd been messing with her quirk whenever she got bored, which was often, and she'd try to do what Izuku suggested. She'd managed to turn it into syrup so far, which was useful in its own right. What are you doing? The doppelganger inquired as Midnight and Kurumu looked on in interest. Quirk training. Midnight inquired, surprised. That's not usually something they start teaching at Yui until second year. Mina was surprised to hear that. Really? Well, this is something Midori brought up, that if I tried hard enough I could turn my acid into something akin to ballistics gel. It's nowhere near that yet, but I've already managed to get it this far. Izuku-sama is dangerously smart when it comes to the application of quirks. With a bit of direction, he could easily apply this same mindset to Yoki. Demonic energy, Kurumu replied to the obvious confusion on Mina's face. Oh. Yeah, easily. He's wicked smart, Mina agreed. Moments before a thump was heard as something heavy landed on top of the car and a chipped katana blade pierced the roof. What the hell? The pink alien girl swore. Kurumu looked out the window only to duck back in when a knife was thrown at her head. Replying with a grimace. It's the hero killer Stain. Why's he here? Mina replied. Midoriya Izuku. You will die for trying to besmirch honor the one true hero that is All Might. Stain hollered. Well, that answers that, Doppel said as she glanced at Mina. Can you fight? In response, Mina covered her hand in sticky acid and gripped Stain's katana, melting clean through it, causing Stain to fly off the top of the car. The villain didn't go quietly however, throwing a pair of knives and blowing the back tires, and causing the car to spin out of control before crashing into a guardrailing. Mina, dizzy from the impact, felt herself being pulled from the car. The bright light of the sun hurt her eyes for a moment, and she felt wobbly and she found herself being steadied by midnight. She faced the direction Stain should be coming from and was surprised at what she saw. Skeletons. Her skeleton guard was climbing out of the trunk of the Rolls-Royce, each armed with a World War II katana. They tore the sheaths away as they charged the hero killer, each raising their blades to slash or run him through. The hero killer was quick on his feet however and managed to avoid every slash and stab only to slash the head off the last skeleton. It exploded in a wave of black energy, that caused Stain to let out a groan of pain. Then Cocoa stepped up with her bat in the shape of a mace and jumped up to smash Stain into paste while he was disoriented from the destruction. Shaking his head and getting back to his senses, Stain dodged out of the way of Cocoa and the crater she created. He pulled out another knife and threw it at Cocoa. She barely dodged the knife but was nicked by it, drawing a small amount of blood. Stain acted fast and ran right at Cocoa and dodged right under her hammer and grabbed the knife that cut her. He licked the blade and absorbed the vampiric blood into his body and activated his quirk. Cocoa started to feel a stiffness in her limbs and noticed that her usual super strength was failing her. She pulled back her hammer and threw at Stain, hoping to hit him. Only for Stain to dodge again and make his way towards the other heroes and Izuku. The skeletons looked at each other and nodded before they ran at the hero killer. They seemingly looking to do the same trick as their brothers in arms, only as Stain prepared to jump away, the undead soldiers plunged their weapons into their own bodies, twisted them, and pulled, causing them to explode in a shower of dark energy. Again this repeated with every skeleton in the group using suicide tactics to wound Stain at the cost of their lives. Some died, others were healed by the same explosion, who then repeated the same action, who then kept repeating the process until only one of them was left standing. Its form started to pulse with energy it absorbed from its brothers. Stain for his part looked rather weak. He was on one knee and was using the remains of his melted katana to prop himself up. You haven't won, Midoriya Izuku. I won't let you get away with dragging All Might's name through the mud. He is the symbol of a true hero. Dragging All Might's name through the mud. The villain turned when he saw the pink girl call out to him. He started this, not Izuku. Explain, girl, Stain said as he weakly rose to his feet as the last skeleton picked up two katanas on the ground as bones around the area started to move towards it. Mina was trying to find the strength and courage to say what needed to be said. He caused me to jump off my school roof, a voice rang directly inside of Stain's head replied. Mina did not expect this. Midori. Izuku-sama, we've just received word that the car carrying your double has been attacked by the hero killer Stain, Tayanisha said worriedly as she ran down the street. Izuku made a split-second decision. Take us to the site of the fight. Kahlua, who was easily keeping pace with the ogre, added her 2 cents. Izuku-sama, I think we should get you to the site of the trial. No. Take me to the site of the fight now. I want Monako prepared to fire on my order, Izuku demanded, unconsciously tapping into his reserves of life force to use both command monster and command undead that pulsed out of his body and into his 2 bodyguards, making known one thing: obey. As you command, Izuku-sama, both women replied. Before they ran down a different street, with Monako following them from the rooftops. Stain turned around to face the boy. The undead was dressed so casually as he stood there. He noted the boy was looking at the remaining skeleton, and glanced at it himself. It was now tar black with the skulls of its compatriots being used as shoulder and shin guard armor, multiple arm bones, leg bones, and ribs fused to its body, giving it a bulky and almost armor-like appearance. A headdress of human rib bones giving it a look reminiscent of horns like a samurai's helmet on its head. In its hands it now held 2 katana, and a crimson fire burned in its hollow eye sockets as 4 more arms sprouted from its back. "Your name?" the boy inquired of it. "We are Gundan," the black skeleton replied. "Legion," Izuku thought to himself. "Fitting." He then spoke to it. "Gundan, your mission remains unchanged, go and protect your empress." "Yes, my emperor," Gundan said as he marched over to Mina standing in front of her protectively as it grabbed 4 more dropped katana and took a stance of an Asura waiting to smite sinners. Izuku then turned to the hero killer. "I should just kill you and reanimate your corpse, for daring to put my Mina in danger." Mina clasped her hands in front of her when she heard that, her cheeks tinging purple as she flushed. "You," Stain said, trying and failing to get his second wind as the blood he digested pulsed within his body and gave him new strength. "What were you saying about All Might?" "He caused me to jump off my school roof," Izuku reiterated. Izuku gestured down at himself. "Why I look like this now?" "No." Stain denied as he shook his head. "All Might wouldn't, he's the only real hero out there. He's not like all the fakes." Stain cried in denial as his eyes started to glow red. Bitter laughter rang out in everyone's heads. They quickly realized Izuku was laughing. "I used to be just like you, it's so DMN sad in hindsight." Putting All Might on this pedestal, thinking he was faultless, the perfect hero, Izuku looked at the villian with something akin to pity. "Unlike you though, I've woken up to the harsh reality that no one is faultless. Not even All Might. I paid for his faults, I wonder what you'll have to pay to come to your realization of the same thing." Izuku said before he made a gun with his thumb and index finger, and pressed his thumb down. Seconds later, the hero killer was struck in the head with a RBB bullet and sent skidding across the road and stood tall with a look of astonishment on his face until a second bullet hit him right between the eyes, making everyone blink in surprise. Izuku looked over to the assembled heroes who had just watched the confrontation take place. "You might want to get him in HNDCFFS while he's out cold, guys." That prompted Midnight and Gunhead into action, and they rushed over to secure the S-rank criminal. Once they had him in quirk-nullifying cuffs, Midnight replied. "That was impressive but also stupidly dangerous, Izuku-kun. Well, I didn't see any of the so-called professionals doing anything, so I decided to step up," Izuku replied. Midnight took the blow to the chin with humility. As he was right, she didn't do anything, nor did Gunhead or Allure, or anyone else on the protection detail. "You're right, but in our defense, your skeletons and Kokoa had things well in hand." "Not the point, Midnight," Izuku sighed and shook his head. "You can't just wait around for someone with the right quirk to show up and save the day. You're a UE alumni, right?" Seeing her nod, he asked, "Plus Ultra is the motto of that place. So tell me, are you only supposed to give Plus Ultra while in school and then give up once you actually become a hero?" Midnight hissed through her teeth. Once again, Izuku had hit the nail on the head, his words, as blunt as any hammer. All right, I get it, Izuku. I'll try harder from now on. That's all I ask, Namiri-san, Izuku said as he looked at Gunhead. You could have shot him any time, you know. The skeletons are dead. They can't die twice. My, Izuku-chan has a cold side to him, it seems, Gunhead replied with a little laugh. I'd like to think of myself as utilitarian. Using materials available to me to fulfill my means. Izuku replied, next time, please take the shot, Gunhead-san, Izuku said before he walked over to Mina. Mina-chan, are you ALRI-? He didn't get to finish as he was suddenly glomped by the pink girl. Midori. That was, are you okay? she asked worriedly as she held him to her. Stiffening a moment before returning the hug, the archlich replied, "I'm fine, Mina-chan. We need to get going to the place where the trial will be held though. Does anyone have the address?" Nurari popped out of the driver's seat of his car. "Right here kiddo, that son of Abi put a hole in my roof and burst 2 of my tires." Before Izuku took the paper he saw Kokoa struggling to her feet and went over to help her up. "Thank you for trying to protect Mina and the others for me Kokoa," Izuku said while the red started to blush in embarrassment at his tender touch and how what scratches she had were healed by the energy pulsing from his hands. "You are too kind Izuku-sama. I was trying to do what was needed of me." She almost stuttered out as she went to go stand next to her grinning sister. Taking that as his cue Izuku went and grabbed the slip of paper. Izuku then read it over carefully several times before tucking it away in his pocket. "Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. I need everyone to join hands in a circle please and someone needs to grab Stain." Everyone did as he asked, and only once they were set up did Gunhead ask. "What are we doing Izuku-chan?" "I'm going to use a spell called Greater Teleportation to get us to our destination. It'll tire me out a bit, but we'll get to where we need to go." Nurari grinned. "Someone's been using Dungeons and Dragons as a basis for their spells. If it's dumb but it works, it's not dumb," Izuku replied with a shrug. "Everybody ready?" Getting a round of nods, he incanted. Greater Teleportation. Everyone glowed an ethereal green as a magic circle depicting a skull inside of a pentacle appeared beneath their feet appeared moments before everyone was teleported away in a pulse of power. The group found themselves in front of a picturesque Japanese estate. Slanted tile roofs that topped 2-inch thick stone walls. In the middle of the estate was a pagoda, a tired lacquered tower standing taller than even the grove of green bamboo that encircled the estate. A door of solid massive oak with golden door knockers in the shape of demons stood on either door. Izuku broke the circle, made his way over, and slammed one of the golden loops against the door thrice. Once the sound of the booms faded away, the giant doors slowly creaked open and a young pale-skinned girl, with her long straight black hair in a Heim cut, and eyes red like BLD, wearing a formal black kimono with vibrant floral patterns on it answered the door. She looked at Izuku expressionless for a moment before a spark of what could be construed as joy flickered in her dull listless eyes and a ghost of a smile crossed her face for but a moment so fleeting, Izuku thought he might have imagined it. The girl then bowed formally and spoke in an emotionless tone. "Welcome to Benienma's estate Izukidano. I am Ai Enma, and I shall be at your service during your stay here." Izuku was quick to bow. "I'll be in your care then. Please take good care of me. And me as well. Come, the MSTRS wishes to see you and get you settled in before the trial begins." Ai said, her tone never rising above a whisper or in pitch. Izuku followed the young girl, who couldn't have been more than a year his junior through the estate. He saw a koi pond, off to his right. The estate itself seemed a bit dusty and there were cobwebs in the corners, but he recalled Maya-san telling him monsters had different standards in living conditions than humans did, so he paid it no mind as he walked down the halls. He stopped in front of an elaborate paper screen door that was gilded in gold depicting the Yama, the judges of hell, in all of their resplendent and terrible glory. Demon judges which determined the time one would spend in Naraka, one of the Buddhist hells, were turning pages in massive books as they were surrounded by golden flames. Ai Enma knocked on the wooden frame and spoke softly. "MSTRS, Izukidano has arrived." "Thank you Ai-chan, send him in please." "Deshi," a voice called from within. "The MSTRS will see you." Ai was cut off when an older attractive woman in a blue kimono with a dark blue border lining the opening at the top that covered Nagajuban came barreling down the hallway before addressing Ai Enma directly. "MSTRS, you needn't have bothered yourself with answering the door for guests," she gave Izuku a barely concealed look of contempt. "Hon Anna," Ai spoke, directly to her subordinate. "Be respectful to Izukidano and his retinue, am I clear? That goes to Kikuri and Ikimokurin as well." Hon Anna bowed contritely. "Of course MSTRS, I shall let them know," the woman turned and walked away, but Izuku still noted the hatred in her eyes for him as she turned to leave. What was that about? Izuku inquired. I apologize, it's nothing you need to concern yourself over, I replied, bowing slightly. Now please, go see the mistress, she has been kept waiting, and she doesn't like that. Izuku had half a mind to insist on knowing what was going on. He was an archlich, it was his job to help monsters, but he held off. If she wants to tell me, she'll tell me, he decided before he reached for the door and pulled it open. The room beyond was Spartan, but what was inside it was clearly of extremely high quality. Tatami mats gleamed, sitting pillows sat all around, waiting to be occupied, and a window allowed natural sunlight to stream into the room. He could tell that just by looking. Sitting at a shogi table wearing a layered, are those feathers? Izuku thought to himself as he approached. Yes, in fact they were a scarlet red-haired girl wearing a feather mantle of red, blue and green feathers, with a white neck trim. Her kimono was black and trimmed in flames, and it was scandalously short, ending at her upper thighs. She had a crown on her head and her hair was tied in an elaborate bun. Her eyes, too, were a startling crimson which contrasted sharply with her pale complexion as she turned her head to look at him. She nodded her head respectfully. Izukidano, won't you please sit deshi? She motioned gracefully with her arm to the opposite side of the shogi board. Izuku sat, feeling slightly nervous. Hello your honor. Why you asked to see me be before the tea trial? She smiled at him sweetly, innocently. Correct and incorrect deshi. The trial has already started deshi. I had All Might and Bakugou Katsuki brought here earlier and already questioned them. Now, I wish to hear about things from your point of view. Izuku blinked. Really? But what about lawyers and questioning and due process and all manner of other things? Izuku-sama, relax deshi. Benienma said, reaching across the shogi board and placing her hands on his shoulders. It was decided since this was a crime done to a monster, that justice should be meted out by a monster. Now please, tell me your story deshi. So you are a monster. I had my suspicions, but is it considered rude to use one's sight on another person? Izuku inquired. Benienma shook her head. Not at all, but you should know that what you see with your sight is the absolute truth. It is the truest truth of a person. You're not just seeing their monster form but also them as they are in their very soul, and things like that can never be forgotten no matter how hard you try. So do be careful with your true seeing Izukidano, lest you see too much, and be driven mad. Izuku nodded. Right, thank you your honor. Please, call me Beni-chan Izukidano. The young girl asked. Izuku cleared his throat even though he didn't need to do that anymore. Right, Beni-chan, so, where should I begin? Teehee, you really did it deshi. She squealed in an almost fangirlish manner before she realized she was supposed to be acting in an official manner. She coughed into her fist. Ahem, I believe the best place to start would be the beginning. That's usually the best place to begin any tale. That could take a while, Izuku said, doing his best to ignore her fangirl moment. Benienma rested her hands on her lap. We have nothing but time Izukidano. The trial will take as long as it takes. You may stop and start again whenever you wish. I have beds prepared for you and your retinue here in my estate, far, far away from the accused, who are being kept on house arrest here until I hear your full testimony and come to a decision. Izuku saw a moment to take a chance and went for it. About that Beni-chan, I was wondering if I may weigh in on Bakugou and All Might sentences. Victims always have a right to ask for specific penalties for the accused. The girl's eyes twinkled with anticipation. What does Izukidano have in mind? For All Might, just a hefty fine. I'm thinking a third of his liquid assets, to be distributed to various charities and hospitals across Japan, Izuku said, uncertainty and muttering. The girl closed her eyes for a moment, before nodding. Should I pass judgment in your favor, that is adequate. What of Katsuki Bakugou? This time Izuku's voice was harsher, and more certain. I want to blacklist him from every hero course in every school in Japan. He can still go to the schools of course, but he can never be a hero, support course or otherwise. A devious smile stretched across the girl's face. Kendo Izukidano. If I rule in your favor, I shall do this for you Dechi. Thank you Beni-chan, Izuku bowed at the waist. Benienma waved her arms back and forth rapidly. No need to be so formal Dechi. Now, the start of your story please. Izuku was ready to begin, but he had one question. Why are you being so nice to me? Aren't you supposed to be impartial? Benienma just blinked. Benienma is being impartial, she hasn't come to a decision yet. As to why she is being so nice, does Izukidano not realize how powerful he is? Seeing the blank stare she was getting from the archlich, Benienma sighed. Allow Beni-chan to explain. Benienma is a Yama, a judge of the dead. She decides who goes where when people die. She giggled cutely when she saw his jaw drop. Nani? Yama can't be this cute. Benienma looked at the shogi board, blushing. Izukidano thinks I'm cute. That was supposed to remain in my thoughts. Izuku mumbled. But you're really a Yama? Correct Deshi, which is what makes you so amazing. Seeing Izuku was still clueless, she explained, you can overturn my rulings, you can bring people back from the dead, weakened or in full. Usually once I make a ruling on someone's soul, it is permanent. Yet you, and you alone can overturn that. I'm sorry. Izuku apologized. Benienma waved him off. Don't apologize. Yokai, you'll recall fine strength, attractive, she fluttered her eyelashes at him. Before she shook her head, reminding herself again that she was on the job. Ahem, anyway. Proceed. Izuku took a breath he didn't need to take, and tried not to think about how the judge just flirted with him just a little. Okay, it started when I was 4 and realized I could never develop a quirk. Izuku had talked for hours, bringing up every time bakugou verbally, physically, emotionally, or mentally abused him. Many of those times involved blatant use of his quirk on his person in front of both teachers and peers. Once he finally asked for a break, mainly because dragging all these old memories up were painful for him to relive. Benienma told him to head off to the hot springs behind her house and relax before dinner. He decided to take her up on that and made his way behind the house, finding a simple changing area that was split into 2 sections, one sign for men, the other for women. Changing into nothing but a white towel, he made his way out into the onsen. He heard light splashing the moment he found himself out back, meaning someone was already here. Izuku thought to call out, but then thought better of it. What if it's bakugou or allmight? They might attack me. So thinking, he folded his towel up, put it on his head, and walked into the bath. This is nice, he thought. Again he heard a faint splashing, this time it was closer and footsteps on stone was heard. I wish I knew who was in here with me though. His curiosity was soon answered when Enma of all people strode out of the streamy mist, water droplets falling off her pale skin from her pre-wash. Ai-san. Why are you on this side of the bath? Izuku asked as he looked sharply away before the steam thinned out enough to show anything xplct. This side of the bath. Izukidano didn't know the bath is unisex, did he? Ai asked. I did not. Please cover yourself, Izuku begged. If I did that, then I'd get my towel wet, Ai pointed out. I don't want to get my towel wet till I finish, and I don't want to leave yet. Why not? Izuku asked, refusing to look Ai's way. Though he couldn't see it, the dark-haired girl had a ghost of a smile on her face again. I'm enjoying talking to Izukidano. Oh, well, I enjoy talking to you too, I guess. Though it would be nice if you were clothed or at least covered. Izuku heard the sound of Ai walking over the stone, then a plop, and after that, he felt strands of wet hair on his arm. Looking over, he found the girl was buried up to her neck in the water, leaning on his arm. Is this better, Izukidano? Yes, thank you, Izuku replied, relieved. Izukudano? AI said. Izuku looked down at the girl who was still using his shoulder as a headrest. Yes. I need your help, AI said looking up into his ethereal green eyes. The archlich for his part didn't even take the time it took to blink before he replied. How can I help AI-san? The girl faced forward again and for a moment, she didn't say anything, then she spoke in that same monotone. I wasn't born a yokai. I was turned into one, due to my hatred and grudge. 600-50 years ago, in the early 15th century, I was chosen as a sacrifice to appease the mountain god by my village for a good harvest. My parents and cousin Centro brought me food and clothing for years until one day, he was found out, and my parents were killed while I was buried alive. Centro was the one who threw the first handful of dirt on my face. AI didn't react when Izuku's arm wrapped around her. He didn't have choice. AI, surely you realize that. The girl said nothing, just moving deeper into his embrace and continued talking. Later that night, I rose from my grave, and slaughtered all the villagers. Some part of me must have still held some form of affection for Centro, for I let him live. I vowed to hate them all forever, even in death, as they buried me. My act caught the attention of a Yama who holds the souls of my parents on the shores of the Sanzu River. Benienma? Izuku questioned. AI shook her head. She's a different Yama, one who requests my assistance from time to time. Anyway, he made a deal with me. In return for not sending my parents' souls to hell, I must act as his messenger to people's hatred and vengeance here on earth. Demanding I forget my own hatred, numbing myself to the suffering of others, and becoming a mere observer. Izuku asked the obvious question. If you refused? Then my parents' souls would wander in hell forever, AI replied, the slightest bit of sadness and anger in her tone. That's so sad, AI-chan, squealed a high-pitched girly voice as two thick tan arms reached out from the mist and pulled both of them into a hug in between two heavenly spheres of tan caramel goodness. Izuku looked up past the sheer ginormous bub and saw Tio holding both of them as tears streamed down her face. Her pale locks were wet and went behind her back, showing how long her hair really was. Izuku realized the person he heard earlier in the bath must have been Tio. Izuku was about to ask AI why she hadn't said anything and then noticed a sight kind of funny. AI was smushed deeper than he was between Tio's bub and was squirming around to free herself. Tio, please release AI, unlike me she needs to breathe, Izuku piped up as Tio finally realized that she was accidentally smothering another person with her heavenly mounds of greatness. Oh sorry AI-san, Tio began to let AI go and she breathed a sigh of relief. Izuku was about to say thanks until he was pulled deeper and was glomped by Tio as AI backed away slightly from the mounds of death. And then the worst person to see this showed up. Wow! A voice that was very familiar to Izuku called out. There really is an onsen back he dash. Mina paused as she saw her not boyfriend cuddling naked with a older tan oni in between her bub to be exactly. Midori, Mina's tone suddenly became dangerous at the scene she saw before her. Why is Tio smothering you between her melons and AI-chan in the bath with you? It's a unisex bath and Tio was comforting the both of us, AI replied. It is? Mina asked. Seeing AI nod, Mina began to strp. Well, that's different then. Emma, Mina-chan. What are you doing? Izuku sputtered out in his thoughts in embarrassment. Well, I'm not gonna get into the onsen with my clothes on, Midori. Do you want me to wash your back? Or did AI-chan already offer to do that? Or maybe you're too occupied with the SNU session Tio is offering. Mina teased as she strpped off her top. And no. I mean, no she didn't. Not no, I don't want you to wash my back, not that you need to do that either. Also Tio, could you please let me go? Izuku said quickly. Tio, realizing that her adorable, huggable, and lovable Izuku-chan wanted to be let go. Sure thing Izuku-dano. In fact, could you wash my back? I have trouble reaching back there. Don't be stupid, Mina said as she unhooked her pink BR, washing your own back is difficult. Unless you can rip off your own arm and control it or something, can you do that? Midori. Also see Tio wants her back scrubbed, so are you gonna leave her hanging? Izuku couldn't answer because his brain had short-circuited. He had seen Mina Ashido, his best friend, topless, and she was gorgeous. Sure, she was covering herself with an arm now, but he still saw plenty. Midori. Mina said, flushing purple. They're not that amazing, you know. They're heavy a lot of the time, and give me back pain. Ask Tio, she can probably understand too. AI-chan is actually lucky to be so pert and perky. Tio also spoke up, indeed AI-chan, in fact if it wasn't for my armor being very form-fitting I would have so much more back pain with my melons. Most bras just aren't made with my size in mind. The red-eyed girl looked at her balefully. The grass is always greener on the other side, as they say. Mina chuckled as she entered the water and sat down on Izuku's other side. Yeah, I guess that's true. Man, this water's nice. She put an arm around Izuku and asked, so, what were you three talking about before I showed up? My parents, I replied. They need help and I've asked Izukidano for assistance. Midori, what's going on? It's an archlich thing, Mina-chan. It could be dangerous, so I'm not sure if I should involve you. Ouch. Izuku said when Mina flicked him in the forehead. It didn't actually hurt, but that felt like the correct response. Idiot Midori. Mina replied, I'm going to become a hero. That means I'm going to be putting myself in danger a lot. So I might as well get some early experience in, right? I don't think that's how that's supposed to work, Mina-chan, Izuku deadpanned. Which one of the four of us is gonna be the hero here? Mina countered. And what was your position in your grades again? Izuku rebutted. Irrelevant. Mina shouted, her cheeks purpling due to embarrassment. What is relevant, is that if I'm going to be a hero, I have to get used to danger, so bring it, Midori. This probably isn't going to be all that dangerous though. Not if my spells work the way I think it will, Izuku said as he looked up at the steam-occluded sky. He felt AI tighten her grip upon his left arm. You have a plan already, Izukidano? Yes, it should work. I wish I had brought my bag of sakura tree seeds with me now, I could just down the whole thing and just resurrect your parents for you, AI. Izuku looked down to see the first bit of emotion, that of shock on the girl's face. You would do that for me? Even after everything I've done? What did she do? Mina asked. The village deserved it, and you were coerced for the last 650 years or so due to your parents' souls being held hostage in Naraka, so yeah. If I had the juice I would. Izuku looked down into the steamy waters of the bath, angry with himself. But I don't. Sorry. AI pressed her head to his shoulder and shook her head. No, don't apologize. The fact you even offered for the likes of me means more than I can express. Midori, explain please, Mina all but demanded as she patted AI's back as she cried on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku filled Mina in on AI's backstory, and once he'd finished, Mina's bumblebee-hued eyes were flinty. Yeah, those F-airs deserved it alright, and you're sure you can't resurrect your parents, Midori? Not unless I want to die again, Izuku admitted. I currently have 17.5 souls worth of energy in me due to my nervous eating this morning. If I used all of those souls plus my own, I could resurrect both of AI-chan's parents. How can you have half a soul? Mina retorted. Every seed I eat gives me 1.25 souls or 125 years worth of life energy. Every fourth one I eat gives me a free soul. It's not that hard to figure out, Mina-chan. Mina shook her head. No. I mean, how do you even know how much life energy each seed is worth? It's just something I innately knew after eating one. Kinda like how a normal person doesn't need to tell their heart to beat or lungs to inhale. I think it's an automated process like that. Sorry for being rude. Nah, it's cool, man, Mina grinned. I don't even think you knew that you knew till I pointed it out, right? Izuku shook his head. I did not. Thank you, also I don't have 50,000 yen in diamonds, which is another component in a true resurrection spell. Mina whistled. Yeah, we're not doing that, not on a broke-ass teenager's budget. Sorry AI-chan. The younger girl shook her head. It's fine, but what is the plan? Firstly, get dressed. As I'm not doing this with all three of us naked, no offense Tio, but this seems to be a more private affair, Izuku declared. No problem at all Izuku, let me excuse myself. I already heard enough from both your conversations earlier. Tio said as she got up and flashed Izuku with her great melons as she got her towel and left. Good plan, Mina replied while thinking for such larger bub Tios had good form, before she leaned over and whispered into his ear playfully. The four of us can always come back here later to celebrate, right? Mina-chan. Izuku sputtered. Sounds good to me, AI replied, her inflection never changed. Not you too AI-chan. Izuku muttered, slumping in defeat. Hey, can I bring the others to celebrate? It's not all the time we get time off to relax, they all heard Tio call from the entrance. Mina shouted back an affirmative while AI patted Izuku on the back. If you save my parents you can do whatever you want with me Izukudano. I am already damned. I'm no longer human. My rage turned me into a yokai. I am likely to be damned to Naraka when I die anyway. He looked at her and she returned his gaze, cocking her head to the side cutely. So I might as well have some fun while I'm here, eh? Izuku sighed. One thing at a time Izuku, one thing at a time, he thought to himself. Let's just get dressed. Once the three were clothed, Izuku led them out to the front of the house. Once they were far enough away not to be disturbed, Izuku turned to the girls. Okay, you two, you need to stay back just in case this doesn't work. Let's see, what do I need? Right. Picking up a long branch, Izuku carved a circle in the dirt, then he made another right next to it. He then made his way back to AI and said, I need a couple strands of your hair, one for each circle. AI nodded. Alright, take what you need Izukudano. The girl didn't even flinch as the archlich plucked a couple of raven black hairs from her scalp. He placed one in each circle. He then raised his arms above his head, causing a ring of blue flames to flare up around the circle and green eldritch energy to spark from his fingertips as he intoned. Summon undead. For a moment nothing happened, then a pale white smoke rose up from the ground in the center of each circle and quickly coalesced into the form of two 30-something Asian ghosts who were wearing ancient clothing. Simple beige hemp kimonos and sandals were on each of their feet. Both had brown eyes. AI subconsciously moved closer, all but whispering as tears rolled down her cheeks, Mom, Dad. The two figures had their attention locked on Izuku, however. The one in the right circle, the male, spoke. You called us fourth Archlich Dano? Yes, the woman asked, how may we, simple farmers, be of service? Motioning to AI, he said, your daughter asked me to assist you. It was only then when he gestured to her that the apparitions of her parents noticed her. They looked surprised for a moment, then smiled, then looked sad. Her mother spoke. AI-chan, you were sorry we couldn't protect you AI-chan. AI shook her head. No, it's not your fault. It's the villagers. Theirs and that stupid ritual. Perhaps, her father said, but that doesn't make what you did any less wrong either, dear. You know. AI asked in a broken voice. We were informed by the spider, her father continued. We would be stuck on the edge of the Sanzu River unable to cross, while you had to ferry others to Naraka. I'm sorry, AI said, lowering her head in remorse as tears fell from her eyes, it's all my fault. If I had just died like I was supposed to. Don't say that. Her mother, father, and Izuku said at the same time. AI's father spoke. AI, you being sent to the mountain wasn't your choice. That was the village elders. You didn't decide to live then either. That was the decision of your mother, myself and Sentaro-kun. The one time you got to make a decision it was made in anger, and it cost you, so I ask you now, please, choose to live. That's so much harder than dying, and I know I'm asking you a lot, but AI-chan, please live. Yes please dear, her mother pleaded. Don't give up, not when things are just starting to turn around for you. Live please. Please live, her parents kept pleading with her. You know, I'm getting a strong feeling your folks want you to keep on living, Mina said, coming up to stand next to AI. What I say? Wanna give it a shot? Mother, what did you mean when you said things are just starting to turn around for me? AI asked in lieu of answering Mina's question. The older woman smiled knowingly. AI-chan, Archlichdano raised our souls from the shores of the Sanzu River. I doubt he'd do that for just anyone because they asked. Mother please, AI whined, proving that the penchant for parents for embarrassing their children transcended life and death and was embedded into their very souls. Heh, her father let out a little chuckle before he turned to Izuku and said, I hate to impose too much, but could I ask you to look after my daughter for me? She's a bit of a handful, and has quite the temper when she gets angry, but she's a good girl at heart. Father. AI whined as her facial mask started to break. At this point she wanted nothing more than to just crawl back into the hole she dragged her corpse out of at this point. I think it would be rude to refuse such a request, so of course I'll look after her for you, sir. Izuku replied as politely as he could. Great, now if we only had a cow and a bushel of rice to give you, the farmer muttered. Father, stop, please stop. AI cried piteously as her inner emotions started to show. Mina for her part was doing her best not to laugh, since AI has basically just been married off to Midori by her parents. Wait, AI-chan just basically got married to Midori before me. I'm the legal wife, damn it. Mina, did you just say you're the legal wife? Izuku asked, his head slowly mechanically turning towards her, his jaw hanging open. Dibs on being the secondary wife, AI said after basically realizing she was married to Izuku. I'm strangely okay with that, Mina said after a moment. But yes. I said it. I'm the legal wife, damn it. Izuku raised a finger. I'd like to point out we haven't even been on a date yet. Irrelevant. Mina shouted. Izuku noted she seemed to like that word. I know everything about you a normal wife should know already. We've only been together a couple of weeks. Izuku retorted. And we haven't even dated. Irrelevant. Mina shouted again. Quiz me if you don't believe me. Izuku ran a hand down his leathery face. Are you serious? You don't exactly have the best test scores, remember? Those weren't nearly as important as you are. Mina replied swiftly before her cheeks flushed purple and she muttered, can you just quiz me already? Izuku scratched his head. My favorite food? Sakura seeds, though if you have to eat normal food, it's your mom's katsudon with okra and natto on the side. Mina grinned knowingly. Izuku nodded. Okay, dreams for the future. Mina was morose as she said, currently you don't have any, but you did want to attend Yui at one point until Allmight may he burn in hell, crushed that dream, she became angry by the end. Best friend? Me of course, Mina pointed at herself and grinned, before frowning at Izuku, cracking her knuckles, and saying, and if you say it's that bakugou guy, I'm punching you. No, no. It's you Mina-chan, though I also would have accepted Kirishima, or Mirio-san. Why them? Best male friend. Izuku. Mina shot him a confused look. What's the difference? Izuku didn't exactly know how to put this delicately. I can talk about things with guys that I can't with you. Like how friggin' hot and CC I think you and the others are like all the time, Izuku thought to himself. Oh, I'm hot and CC am I? Mina purred with a sly smile on her face. Tell me what about me is hot and CC? Do I have to answer this question? Son, just answer the question, you're less likely to end up on the couch that way, the ghost of AI's father said as his wife nodded sagely next to him. The usual and then some that aren't, Izuku replied evasively. You mean my bub, right? You're those, yes, and your peach is nice too. Izuku mumbled. That surprised Mina and she stroked both her hands down her posterior. My bub, I expected, but you like my peach too, huh? I didn't expect you to be a tips and peach man, Midori. Anything else? Hair, skin, eyes, horns. Truth be told, I think all of you looks exotic, Izuku mumbled at hyperspeed. Exotic, huh? Well, I can't say I've been called that before. You really know how to make a girl feel special, Midori. Mina leaned over AI and gave him a kiss on the cheek. AI meanwhile was looking down at her own svelte form and huffed, mumbling, I lost. Mina patted her shoulder. Hey now, hey now. It's not a competition. AI-chan is dangerously cute, you know. Right, Midori? Yes, Izuku admitted. I honestly thought you were an animated porcelain doll when I first saw you, then you smiled and I realized you were a person. Izukidano is kind, as is Mina-san. Also Mina, if I could just give you one more compliment. Izuku said. I'm not fishing, but go ahead, Mina said, grinning. You look like a real empress in that kimono, Izuku praised, cursing himself for stumbling over his words. Mina winked. Only the best for the emperor. Then a new voice rang out, my MSTRS, please don't do this. Izuku turned to find the woman from earlier racing towards them with a young girl, an old man, and an older man in his 20s with dark hair covering one eye racing after her. Honana, I've already made up my mind, I said. The woman in the kimono glared hatefully at Izuku. You. This is all your fault. You're the reason the MSTRS wants to abandon her duty. AI stepped between Izuku and her servant, as the sky darkened. I've already warned you once, Honana, not to disrespect Izukidano and his retinue. If you continue to act this way, I will be forced to DSPLN you. She glanced behind her. Izukidano, please proceed with your plan to free my parents. Honana began to tear up. MSTRS, please. Why were you choosing to abandon us? What makes you think she's abandoning you? Izuku asked as he prepared to remove the curse on the Enmas. Actually, is Enma even their last name? He thought to himself. We are bound to serve the Hell Girl. Honana snapped, if her parents are freed, she no longer has any reason to be the Hell Girl, and she will simply be replaced with another. Were you cursed? Izuku asked. What? Honana asked. Izuku repeated himself. Were you cursed to follow the one who held the position of Hell Girl? The old man spoke up, it's something of a curse, yes, why do you ask? If that's the case, then I can take care of it, just as easily as I'm taking care of this, Izuku replied as he reached out into the circle and put a hand on both of the ghosts. Remove curse. A black mist seeped from the ghosts of AI's parents and two beams of bright light shot down through the dark clouds right down on top of them both. They both began to slowly float upwards. They smiled at their daughter, who smiled back with tears in her eyes. You'll keep living, won't you? They asked. For us? Yes, AI said even as she cried. I promise. Good, and AI, don't let hatred consume you anymore, her father called. Remember, her mother said, your name means, love. We love you, AI. Her parents called before their forms were consumed by the light and it faded away. I love you too, mother, father, I love you both so much. AI said, falling to her hands and knees as she continued to cry. Izuku kneeled down, Ai-chan, I'm so woe. He didn't expect the girl to throw her arms around him and cry into his shoulder. Thank you, Izukidano. AI's voice was muffled as her face was buried into the crook of her shoulder, but he heard her all the same. Shoo, there, AI-chan, everything will be okay. Rest now. Your parents are in a better place, Izuku soothed. Once she cried herself to sleep, Izuku picked her up. He looked to Mina, who just smiled at him and shot him a victory sign. First mission as an archlich accomplished, Midori. Yeah, I guess so. He turned to Honana. Where's her room? I'm going to lay her down so she can rest. I'll take her, Hon Anna said, snappishly reaching for her MSTRS. No, that's not what I said, bone woman, Izuku snapped, having quite enough of her mouth, to the point of referring to her as what she was rather than who she was. With her they were the same thing, but that's besides the point. I told you to give me directions to her room, now speak. Izuku innately used command undead once again as his eyes sparked with power and glowed in radiant green. Down the hall, last door on the left. Thank you, with that he walked off. Mina looked at Hon Anna and said, well, he told you huh? Shut up. The woman snapped, you have no idea what he's done. Mina didn't pay her any mind, she was already using her acid to skate after Izuku. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Bubbajack on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.